Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lech, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Let's party. Want to give a big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. I've been dropping a lot of new standalone videos as well. You don't want to miss those. So make sure you are subscribed. Welcome to the party. Real quick, let's say a big thank you to the sponsor of the stream. That's right, as always, my6shirt.com. Look, we got a new design here. If you are a certified Elon fanboy, you can get your own shirt, as well as the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. What is going on, everybody? So, not a lot of introduction here. Jubilee did another episode of their Middle Ground. If you're not familiar, they get a bunch of people on different sides of an issue. They give prompts, and then they talk about it. So let's talk about it. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know. So we have queer parents, we have teens, and we have conservative parents. I haven't seen them do 3 different groups before, but hey.
Howard, if you agree with the prompt, it is important that parents honor their children's boundaries.
Yup. That's a big one.
I like the phrase, boundaries breed intimacy. If you don't have that respect, mutual respect for one another, how can I be open with you as a child? There's that lack of trust if you're not respecting boundaries.
It's also important because each kid is different, and I have a brother, and boundaries that work for me don't work for him. And so my parents parent both of us according to what we need, and that involves having different boundaries. So,
and like, to honor your child's boundaries does not mean at your boundaries that there's a deficit at my boundaries. Like, my kid is not going to be cussing me out, telling me what he's not going to do. It's none of that. I can respect my child, and I have a 14-year-old son, and he respects me. I've never had any issues with rebellion or, I guess, disrespect in that way, because we communicate about everything now.
Hey, we got Dan Jensen in the building. What is good? What is good with the call out for Seabass? We do miss Seabass. Also, Divine and Rod in the building. Lots of love for Seabass. Seabass, if you're out there, we are still here with open arms. Come on back. Welcome to the party, guys.
And, there is a line, of course, that you don't want to cross, especially when it comes to the safety of the child.
it is 100% safety, and it just means you respect their emotions as a human. It doesn't mean you let your kid do whatever you want. I think that's a common misconception.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
So remember, the prompt was, is it important that parents honor their children's boundaries?
I would like it if the prompt was worded almost a little bit differently, because it puts importance on my kid's boundaries, where I think as a parent, we set those boundaries. But I like what you said, where you said that just because boundaries are set doesn't give your child the ability or the reason to cuss you out, because it's like, oh, well, I've set these boundaries up and that's my boundary.
It seems like people are equating boundaries with emotions, and I would not do that. I would say that their emotions are different from the boundaries that we as parents should be setting for them, because I don't know about you, but when I was a child, I broke every boundary that my parents set for me, and they were there for specific reasons to keep me.
I said, shit, me too. Yeah, that's a good distinction, that boundaries and emotions are not the same thing. And so I think she caught that very well. Hey, we got David Banner in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome. This is, what is your opinion on people 12 to 15 taking synthetic hormones like gender affirming BS? Not in favor. Not in favor. Very much should not be allowed at all. At least there should be parental what's the word? You know what I mean? But it's even still, I think 18, you could do whatever you want. Before that, just be a kid. Hey, we got Lee in the building. What is good, Lee? I was looking to tag you. I put a post on my community tab specifically for you when we were talking about Scott Adams and the exchange he had with Dave Smith. So after this, check out my community tab and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But welcome to the party. So again, the prompt is, it is important that parents honor their children's boundaries.
me safe. So if we just allow our children to have no boundaries, or we allow them to set the standard for the boundaries, I think that they're just not emotionally, to bring that word back, capable of doing that and keeping themselves safe. I think that's our job as parents.
Yeah, I think too,
Mhm.
going off of that, that
There you go.
the relationship you have with the parents is very contingent on the child knowing that the parent has your best interest at heart. And like you said, there were many times in my childhood that I wanted to do something and I didn't have the same boundary that my parents did. Maybe I didn't have all the information. I'm glad that they protected me and they had my best interest at heart. And I think that that's important for the parent-child relationship.
That's an important thing he said. They had information that he did not. And that is why we want parents to be aware of this stuff. We don't want children who don't know what they're getting into to get into things they don't know what they're getting into.
Can I throw in a follow-up question? Let's redirect and think about boundaries too as autonomy. Okay, go.
Encompassing what
Okay.
though?
As an example, a little kid doesn't feel comfortable hugging a family member. You must hug them anyway. That's your uncle, hug them. And they're trying to tell you,
Absolutely.
Ooh, I'm changing the thingy here. What do you guys think about that one? I'm gonna make it a poll, but should you have to hug a family member? That's a good one. That's a good one. I think that for a long time it was pretty commonplace for that to be, what the standard. Like that's your aunt, that's your uncle, that's your brother, that's your whatever. You have to do that. But as we have seen, just unfortunately, how common it is that not great stuff happens to children within their own family and from relatives. I absolutely would, if I had children, would never ever force them to do that. I would certainly want to understand why they don't want to hug their family member. But hey, that's you. That's you.
Absolutely not.
I was actually about to talk on that. I think it's less
I was about to talk on that. Sure you
it's
are.
about the child setting the boundary with the parent. I think parents should definitely have the final say in terms of those boundaries, but I think it's more about fostering a conversation with the children that you are an individual, you do have autonomy. Just
So the parent should have the final say, but so she disagrees.
for this phase of your life, I will take the lead. I'm the parent, but instilling in the child that you are your own person and you're not just an extension of me.
I have a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 11-month-old son. So there is no boundaries because you can't have boundaries if there's no foundation and order. So for me, what I strive to do is to, with my 6-year-old, is just give her lots of words of affirmation.
Facts, David.
And be the lead in everything we do. She rides horses. We go out to the range. She shoots guns. A lot of the structure and foundation that we're planning is, in the outdoor world. It's not based off social media, tablets, cell phones, and reality TV shows. But if I'm just saying, well, I'm going to wait until she tells me what her boundaries are. I'm going to wait and see how she feels. Well, that's not a parent. That's a friend.
But isn't that what happens?
That's an interesting point. I don't think that, I think they're kind of talking past each other and just using words in different ways. And the idea of waiting and then seeing what to do in a reactionary way. I get what he's saying, but I don't think that is really what we're talking about.
The parents set the precedent. This is the law. This is the rules and regulations. It's the foundation, whether it's Christianity, whether it's whatever that you believe in your household.
So real quick, what I'm not really sure of is when they say queer parent, are you the parent queer, or are you a non-queer parent to a queer child? So I'm sure we'll figure that out, but that's the question I have. Hit that poll, guys.
And then you do have your autonomy as a child, and you do start challenging your parent because your ideas and their ideas might not align just the same way anymore. And that is when the kid has it. So if your daughter, let's say, said, you know what, Daddy, I don't want to wear these clothes no more. I don't want to wear this pink dress. I don't want to wear these frills. I don't want to dress like a girl. I want to cut my hair off. What would you say?
That wouldn't be up to me. That would be up to our mother.
Okay, what would you guys say? I would imagine it together.
That's a cop out.
Good
That's
answer.
obviously not what she was asking.
And well, in all honesty, I do work. I have a career and stuff, but I'm a stay-at-home father at the same time. So I'm the one who dresses. I'm the one who does the hair.
Sure.
But at the same time, it
Then why does mom have the final say on that?
would be up to her mom to decide, okay, well, how can we go about this? And also, if she's having these feelings, we're going to stop for a second, not just hop on and say, okay, well, she says that she wants to dress like a boy now, or she says she wants to do this now. Well, let's see where it's coming from. Because obviously, if she's
There
not
you
seeing
go.
it in our home, then she saw it from somewhere.
That's not true.
That absolutely is true. Kids don't just naturally feel this way. And so we were having a conversation in Discord last night about somebody who had a family member that was trans, and they don't agree with that lifestyle, but they had a child who was starting to figure out, like, hold on, something's amiss. And we were just talking about how to have that conversation and what is a way to express what the parent that I'm talking about, what they wanted for their child, while also being respectful of the family member who was trans, but also finding that balance and navigating that conversation. And it's not that simple. But the fact is that they are going to see it. It's going to come from somewhere. And so I think it definitely should come from the parents. Hey, we have Christ brings a sword in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It says, praise the Lord, your destruction is near. Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. You are a child of the devil. Let's go! Daddy is the devil!
I was 5 years old when I told my mom, I do not want to wear this pink dress. And my parents are pastors.
Ah, but were you 5 years old when you said, I want to be queer? Or were you 5 years old when you said you didn't want to wear a dress? Those are different.
Are Christian, and I was adopted in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Really
I'm just saying all these things. I was the only Black child in my entire school district. We were in the paper for bringing multiculturalism to the school district. So I didn't see any tomboys. I didn't see no gay folk. I didn't see nothing. What my point is, I had a call, I guess you would say a calling of autonomy for who I am. And I'm unapologetic for it because I always follow that as a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old. And thankfully, I had 2 parents that might not have understood, but did fortify me to be myself and never forced me to wear the clothes that I didn't want to wear. My thing is,
and so again, that brings up the question, like, okay, so are you now a parent who is queer, or did you live that and now you are a parent and your child just happens to be queer? Because those are very different situations. So if she is the one that is queer, then it kind of seems like that she's just explaining why. But if it's her kid, it kind of seems like she's living vicariously through her child, and as a lot of people are. I think, hot take here, I think very soon we are going to start looking at parents of trans or queer children as having some type of Munchausen by proxy. There's a mental disorder where you call Munchausen syndrome, where you will make yourself sick so that you can get attention from, whether it's your family members or doctors or whatever. And then Munchausen by proxy is when you make somebody else sick because it will get you the attention. And many times it is parents with their children. And usually you'll hear stories about how the mother was slowly poisoning the child. And so they, had to be in their life and constantly going to the doctor and doing all this stuff. But now it's virtue signal points. Now it's, well, I want clicks on social media. So now you don't want to wear a dress? Okay, that means you're queer or gay or this or that. I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
Absolutely give a strong foundation for your children. That's your right. You wouldn't have brought children in this world to not do that. But you got to be a listener. If your child is saying something that kind of is like, wait, where is this coming from?
Oh, absolutely.
It might not be coming from social media or TV. It might be coming from their heart and their authenticity.
Well, absolutely.
Themselves.
But that's also our job as parents to search their heart. Just because the child
Is
says
it?
Absolutely.
To search your child's heart.
Is it?
Absolutely.
Or to accept your child who they are.
Search your child's heart. I don't think we're actually in a conversation to even be talking about dressing or how your kid feels about their gender identity.
At 6 years old, you can't. Your child.
We're
can't
talking
decide.
about boundaries. We're not talking about
We're talking
sexual
about autonomy.
orientation with
No,
children.
we're talking about autonomy and autonomy.
Yeah, but you
You
shouldn't accept your child for everything that they think. Like I used to dress up.
Exactly. You should not just accept your child for everything just because they are your child. There are things that your child can do that are wrong. That is okay, but you have to be the parent to show them that it is wrong.
And think I was a pirate, but my parents didn't cut off my arm and attach a hook. Like not everything
That's
should
so
just be
different.
Is it though? That's different? How is that different? Explain to me exactly how that is different. What is the difference between thinking that you are the opposite gender or you're not a gender and thinking that you're a pirate? Both are delusions.
Well,
No,
look,
but it's not.
a bit
But what I'm
extreme.
saying is, you don't accept everything simply because they say it. Like
Self-mutilation and accepting your daughter for being gay is a little bit not apples to apples,
hyperbole,
my
of course.
friend.
But my point is,
Again, is it though? Because that's what taking puberty blockers or getting any kind of surgery is. Self-mutilation. She just said it. So it is exactly the same thing.
that you don't just blindly accept for anything. You do accept them for some things, but it's not just blind. They said it, and therefore we should accept them for what they said.
It's not necessarily accepting, it's more of letting them explore. It's more of them giving them an option to find themselves. I have
think
twins.
that's reckless.
I have twins.
Hey, no freedoms is here. What is good? What is good? Welcome to the party, brother. And this does explain a lot, and we accept you either way. We accept you either way.
And twin girls, and they're 5 now, and at 2.5, one of them didn't want to wear dresses anymore. She was like adamant about it at 2.5, and I'm
Well, I guess you don't have 2 girls anymore. It must be a dude.
like, whoa, this is powerful.
Is it though? That's powerful that a girl doesn't want to wear a dress. Never worn a dress, but maybe it's just a weirder thing, and maybe she just didn't like dresses.
And we went with it. We wanted her to
Whoa,
explore
how
that. We wanted to
progressive.
make sure that she felt comfortable in her own skin on what she was wearing. And I didn't want to put that on her and make sure that, you know, she has this femininity that maybe she doesn't feel like she has. You know, that's not saying that she's gay or she's
Right.
lesbian or anything. She just doesn't like dresses.
I would agree with
And
you.
to this day, she's 5 and she still doesn't wear dresses.
Well, there we go. She's 5 years old and she doesn't like dresses. What? I don't understand what the point is of what you're trying to say.
She
And
might
she is
like dresses in
happy.
a couple of years. She might change her mind and
Yeah.
actually like dresses.
Exactly.
And that's her choice.
I have a
Exactly.
question. It's personal to you because I don't know if I heard it correctly. Did you say you were adopted?
I was.
Okay, you had adopted parents. Do you think
They're the
that,
only parents I recognize as my parents,
Okay.
but I was adopted.
do you
yes.
do you think that their willingness to be, let's just use the word liberal in acceptance and you wanting to do the things that you do is because they're your adopted parents and
Absolutely
maybe
not.
that they felt this obligation that they want to be closer to you?
Absolutely not. I'm the only one adopted in
Okay.
my family, and my mom and dad actually do not believe in my lifestyle, and they're unapologetic for that. And I respect it because everybody has to believe in what they believe in. So even though they don't believe that my lifestyle is necessarily of God or of their faith, we can still come to terms and love each other. And
That's all fine. But it's when you start pushing a little bit further and you're trying to say, oh, this is the right way to live, or that, you know, you have to accept certain things, as we talked about earlier, when you specifically said self-mutilation is not something that you should accept. Well, now we're getting there.
be with each other because I'm not my thoughts and my parents aren't their thoughts either. We're bigger than that, and they have the right to believe what
Right.
they
So
believe.
you
Guys, can you do me a huge favor, please, and just smash that like button real quick? I promise it's free.
On
said
that
that
note, we'll move on to the next
ahead.
prompt. It's best for a child to have a mother and a father.
Okay, that's the next prompt. So, new poll: do you agree with the sentiment that that it's best for a child to have a mother and a father?
I'm gonna
That's-
set this one down.
That's right. I can't pull that up. Well, we can, yeah, but you know, Christ brings the sword is right. You know, a lot of people who are in this space are not very happy, and it doesn't seem to fix anything.
I thought about that one for a second. I like that.
I did.
Yeah.
I had to think
What
about
you
that
got for us?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, right? For a plethora of reasons, but I think the ordered way is, you know, a mother and a father for 2 different people that have 2 different and distinct purposes.
Yes, and I appreciate that he said different and distinct, and he didn't have to say equal, because that is what is implied. But if you don't say it, I bet you they're going to jump down his throat about it.
We all know mothers are just inherently better at nurturing. They provide life, they give life, and I think both of those 2 distinct roles are absolutely important and integral to child development, I think.
Yeah, I can speak to my own experience. I had 2 parents in the home, very loving, and it was really vital to have a masculine figure and also a feminine figure.
There you
I
go.
think if you have too much of either, that can affect you in negative ways as a kid.
And I agree with the way that he said that as well. A masculine figure and a feminine figure. I absolutely 100% think that a male father and a female mother is ideal. But we also have, you know, plenty of gay couples and stuff out there that are not these trans activists. And so as long as those roles are being filled, I'm happy. Better 2 gay dudes or 2 gay chicks than a single mother who doesn't care.
The problem that I have with the same-sex parenting is that when you have a same-sex couple that has a child, they're necessarily depriving that child.
Oh, we got got a treat for Morty. Thank you so much, Dan. Say thank you to Dan. Oh, what is good? What is good? Thank you so much, brother. And I meant to. Well, he wasn't on screen, so he gets another one just for you. There we go. Here, I'll pull it down. Hold on. Just for you. That's right, guys. Every super chat gets Morty a treat. Thank you, Dan.
Child of a mother and the father, and they're excluding a parent in one of those important roles from the child. And we have a lot of data on this. Social scientists have tons of studies and research about this, decades.
It's just not the same with one parent.
That non-biological parents are more transitory than biological parents. That when a child loses a parent, that there's a lot of trauma involved. And so I think it's important to realize that sexes are different and children need models for both of those things. And it isn't to say that homosexuals can't love and commit. And it's also not to say that heterosexuals can't be bad parents. I think we know that as well. But it is to say that we shouldn't set up a system in which children are intentionally put in homes that are fatherless or motherless. That isn't fair to the child. I feel like same-sex parents adopting are thrusting the child into their lifestyle instead of realizing and asking the better question, which is what is best for that child? And I hear the side that we will be good parents, but no man can be a mother and no woman can be a father. And even if you are the best same-sex couple in the world, you still are necessarily denying that child a parent.
Yep.
And I believe that children have rights, and that the most important right is a right to a mother and a father. And they have that right by virtue of being brought into this world by those two people.
On point, Aldo. And that's I think the piece that a lot of people miss. You know, it often comes up against, you know, the single mother thing, and as if a single mother automatically is going to have terrible children, as if single mothers aren't working hard or doing their best or anything like that. And that is not what this argument is about. That is not what this question is about. It's about what is best for the child.
I also want to add on to that because, like, you touching on like the masculinity and the femininity. The thing is, you can only display so much masculinity and femininity. Thing is, like, it doesn't matter if you're a biological woman and you're trying to exert as much masculinity as possible. At the end of the day, a child's gonna grow up in a same-sex household, and they're gonna go to school and then see that other parents have a father figure, a mother figure, and they're gonna grow up and start, and just all this stuff about same-sex couples, like gender, all this stuff's gonna come to them at a very young age. They're one-dimensional. They're not gonna take it in the same way that we do. So
I don't know. I'll back up to that. But so we got a couple of people here saying, Lee said, I have to disagree with this guy. Telling same-sex couples not to adopt is BS. And David also says, I disagree with this statement. A lot of people that are same-sex couples are better off, are better suited to be parents than a lot of male-female couples. Exactly. I'm right there with you. So I must have missed when he said not to adopt. But I 100%, yeah, I agree with you, both of you guys.
I just feel like from a very young age, it would confuse the kid.
I was raised by a single mother, and so I was raised by all women. So like I was saying before, you know, I do hair. I grew up in salons. I grew up, you know, watching my mom getting her eyebrows waxed, and I was always, you know, masculine as a young boy, but the validation and the insecurities just continued to grow as I became older. As far as working and being committed to something and finishing a task, those were areas that I lacked in. But one area that I knew.
And those are the areas that you get from having a father, or at least a masculine figure in your life. And the problem is that if you only have one masculine figure and that happens to be your mother, well, then you're missing on the feminine figure.
About and was so familiar about was women. But as far as having a man say, hey, this is actually what the woman is for. She's not to be your plaything. She's actually a valued person with emotions and standards and morals and values. And this is how you should, you know, treat a woman. So to have a father in my life would have kept me from doing a ton of stuff that ended up hurting me emotionally later on and causing a lot of trauma.
And those things that he's talking about that cause a lot of trauma, whether it's to him or to other people, then ripples out. And now we have this dude who doesn't have a good framework for how to treat women. He's, you know, tall, dark, and handsome dude going out there mistreating women. And then the rest of us now have to deal with what he's done and to their heads. And it's not just him, of course, but this is the cycle. And so now women get more defensive, and men have to get, and we just get further and further and further and further and further apart. And it's not a good thing. Not a good thing.
So now that I have a son, I hug him and give him that masculine, if you would say, emotional embrace. And I think that's important. You can't just get that from one or the other or the same sex. I believe it can only come from a mother and a father.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he's saying that again, the that only man and woman, and I don't think that's right. As David Banner saying, it's right. All straight people are so much more mentally healthy. Like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Whoever is and again, we're talking about the ideal. Yes, the ideal is a man and a woman. But if we're talking about just a woman versus two dudes or two chicks, the more the merrier. Takes a village. Lee says boys who grow up without fathers are 20 times more likely to wind up in prison. The data is there. This has been long understood. The value of having not just two parents, but specifically a father in the household.
Yeah. Well, I also, not only is it, as a Christian, it's not biblical to represent that to our children, but I don't think it's a sustainable model either.
Why? Why do you need to bring up Christianity? What does that have to do with anything? Why can't you just espouse the values and separate them from your fantastical beliefs? The things that you believe don't exist. You think they exist? Some of you guys in the chat think they exist? Great. That's a different conversation for a different day. But now you've tied it into this, and now the way that you treat a child is going to be based on what you believe about a man in the sky. Do you think that's a good way to think about how you should treat your children? Or maybe should we just talk about the children and the society they live in?
Either, if you're looking at it from that perspective, like if we're going to normalize same-sex households, we will have a very difficult reproduction issue down the line.
Not really, because we already have way too many kids in the system. There's all of these straight parents who are drug addicts who've lost their kids. They all need homes. Now, if you start mutilating your children and you start sterilizing yourself by chopping off your body parts, then we're going to have an issue. But there's plenty of kids out there.
Think if every single family suddenly became a single-sex household. There's a reason why mammals have a male and a female and they reproduce. That's the way we're built. That's the way we're built biologically and from God.
I don't agree with most of the you guys said, but I do agree about balance. Okay,
Hey, Christ brings a sword. I'll make you a deal. If you can tell me how, instead of just telling me what you think, if you can tell me how you know that, then I'm completely happy to have this conversation. So pick this or whatever. Tell me what you think and how you know that that's true.
A queer mother of a 14-year-old male.
Okay, so the queer parents are parents that are queer, not necessarily parents who have queer children.
And I believe that he definitely benefits from a male in his life as well as me in his life. Now, the thing that you guys really aren't touching on is that most queer families are not just the deficit of the opposite sex. There's a lot of extended family. Like, I make sure that my son has lots of male influence because I know, like what you're talking about is 1,000% true.
That's a good point. That's a good point too. Obviously the parents, especially when they're younger, are the most impactful. But when we're, in the conversation about if there are two good same-sex parents, then you can find that, feminine energy or masculine energy elsewhere. It's just not ideal.
especially in the Black community. The destruction of the Black household is just a whole different conversation. But because I know that, it is my responsibility to make sure he's got a strong male influence, or a few of them, in his life. Now, if they're not a father, they can be a father figure. I'm adopted, so I don't necessarily agree with everything you said about the biology of family, because I believe the only thing that's real in this world is love. And I do believe anybody can love and fortify a child a beautiful environment. But I do believe a child does benefit from male and female energy. And
There you go. There you go. All right. The disagreeers for the prompt, it's best
So
for
I
a child to have a mother and a father.
disagree. Clearly,
Of course you do.
being a two male household with two little girls, like you were saying, you know, I have a lot of strong women in my life and in my husband's life.
This is incorrect, No Freedoms, because I love you.
And you know, we make sure that they are a part of our lives, they are a part of our girls' lives, that they know them very well, that they feel comfortable with them. And I have even told them at 5 years old, you know, if you don't feel comfortable ever coming to me about any kind of situation, you have your aunt, you have your grandma, you have these awesome, amazing women in your life that you can talk to, and you should feel open about it.
And that's fine. That's great. That is amazing that your children have those resources, but it is not the same thing as having a mother. It just is not.
Do you really think that it's your extended family's job, as like you mentioned, like strong female figures? Do you think it's their job for them to parent your own kid?
Based.
Because
They're not parenting.
Not
it's
at all.
just an influence.
We were talking about like extended relatives, but what about immigrant families where all of your extended relatives are in a different country, a different time zone?
It doesn't
I
even
also-
have
It
to
doesn't
be
have
like
to be family though. It can be like
Chosen family.
It can be chosen family. It's just some woman or some man in your life that has a relationship with that child, and it's not
That sounds sus.
their job to parent, but it's their job to maybe step in and give that. Like, I know for me, I have two dads and I have strong female figures in my life. They never parented me, but sure, I know that they're there if I need them. I mean, you know, when I got my period, I went to my dad's. I didn't want to go to any woman because they're my parents and they made me feel loved. And there was
And how did that go? I'm sure your dads were very familiar with their first period, right?
I had never, ever once wanted a mom, sought a mom, thought I was missing something because I didn't have a mom. And I'm sick and tired of people telling me that I am missing something because I'm just not.
It's because
Yeah, though. David says, so let me ask a question. Are these men that opt out of interacting with a woman bound for, is this for Christ Brings a Sword? Interacting with women bound for hell as well, since they aren't fully fulfilling their God-given duty to procreate with a woman? Good question.
because you didn't have it.
Yeah, but do you feel like you're missing something or you're not missing having two dads because you didn't have it?
How could you possibly know that? How could you possibly know that? Do you miss living on Mars? What? He's never had that experience. So how can you compare them?
Well, no,
No.
that's not what we're
I
talking
wouldn't
about.
want to
Because
do that.
what happened? No, because what
Okay,
happens
well,
is
you're missing out then.
well, because they don't have two dads.
I hear
Like,
yes,
what is that?
ma'am. But I hear
No, hold on, because we all know, you know this, and I know this. There's this bond that a mother and child have that nobody
Mhm.
can replace. I don't care if
Facts.
it's another dad. I don't care if
Facts.
it's an aunt. I don't care if it's a grandmother.
Wrong.
That-
There was a study
hold on
done
one second.
showing that
I don't
the
care about-
fathers
I don't
formed
care
the
about
same
studies.
biological
Studies mean nothing to
connection.
me. Studies mean nothing to me.
I want to hear him
If-
out.
if-
I want to
That's
hear
about
this guy out
reality.
right here.
Listen.
What's he saying?
You saying that I've never cared about having a mom, it never bothered me, I have two dads, they're great. You're saying that because you don't have your mother, which kills me. That kills me to think that
Exactly. You can only say, "Oh, I'm." This is the exact same argument as people who are now parents and they were hit as children, and then they hit their children. And the argument is, "Well, I turned out fine." Like, okay, yeah, you're not a murderer, but how do you know how you would have turned out if you weren't getting beaten by your number one protectors? You can't know that. You have not experienced that. So the fact that you are fine is all well and good. I'm glad you don't have lasting damage, even though you probably do. I mean, I do. From you just don't know. You're assuming that your situation is better than a situation you can't actually compare it to.
I'm
You never
sorry
knew
it kills
her?
you. It doesn't kill me.
That is
Well,
wild. What if her mom? What if her mom? What if her biological mom?
What if? Remember, always talking about the possibilities. We're talking about probabilities and generalities.
Let's just say her biological
Sure.
mom was a drug addict, a prostitute, like my biological
Right.
mom, that did not hold me the first 3 months.
That's a
I'm
hor-
not
that's-
missing
that's a
her,
horrible,
hon.
That's a
I'm not
horrible
missing
reality.
her.
We're
That's
not
a
talking about
hypothetical.
Exactly. You're not missing anything from having a bad mom. But that's not even. I don't even know.
It doesn't make any
Scenario, we're
sense.
talking about
Right, but this is a real life
scenario.
scenario. This is a real life scenario. I don't miss that comfort.
But
from
you
her.
don't know that because you don't
But
know
you
her.
don't know that because you're not me.
Exactly.
So
But
you
what
can't
I'm what
speak
I'm
for other queer
what
folk
I'm-
and tell them what they're missing.
First of all,
You
I
can't tell them what
I don't
they're
even know what
missing.
queer means because you have a different definition. I'm sure you have a different definition. I'm sure you have one. And I'm sure you have one. And
Same thing with God. All of you have a different definition of God.
I'm sure you have one.
It's 2022, baby. You better look up what queer means. It's often used awful.
So you guys,
awful
so
lot
hold on. You
now.
guys have the exact same
Like,
definition
no, I
of what a
just-
queer
no,
person is.
I think the definition was
They do not. I can guarantee you, without having, I skimmed through this. I didn't really watch it, but I can guarantee you, if they went down the line separately, not in a row, and asked, how do you define the word queer? They would all give a different answer.
from schooling, from academia.
Okay. No, I don't think any part of the conversation really bothered me so much. I think the one thing that I wish I could have nailed down was a clear definition of what being queer is.
Or for that matter, what a woman is, right?
Understand that each person, and I actually said it, each person probably has his or her own definition. You know, the same way if they asked us what a conservative was, we probably would have had a definition for it. But I just wish that, you know, that definition would have helped me frame maybe some of my questions a little bit better that I had.
I read the Bible. I wonder if Christ Brings a Sword has actually read it.
Yeah. I'm talking about you guys right here.
But you guys, we're all the same.
What do you mean, you guys?
Same here, honey.
No,
we're all human beings.
No,
with
equality
blood
is a
running
false
through us.
god.
We're all the
Equality is a
same
false
people,
god. We are
honey.
not all the same. He's black. I'm mixed. White. We're not the same.
Oh my God. Whatever you characterize me is a very small bit of me because you don't know me. I can't judge
Exactly.
you.
So I wouldn't assume to say that me and you are the same.
Beings. We're all human
Inequality is what
beings.
actually makes everything good. I mean, we were just talking about how, you know,
Yup.
that some
Did you hear what he said? Inequality is what makes things actually good. Listen to it again. That is a great line.
A bit of me because you don't know me. I can't judge
Exactly.
you.
So I
off of
wouldn't
you.
assume to say
Well,
that
it's not-
I'm
we're all-
that
we're
me and
all
you are the
human
same.
Beings. We're all human
inequality is what
beings.
actually makes everything good.
Inequality is actually what makes everything good.
I mean, we were just talking about how, you know, that somebody in your life, like an aunt, is filling the role of the mother.
I didn't say filling the role.
But you said
not
someone.
Wow. Wow. If you get called out for hate from No Freedoms, you better look in the mirror. You better look in the mirror. Oh, talking about yourself? Yeah.
Filling the
A
role.
mother is not
Do
some
not
woman.
put
A
words in
mother
my
is
mouth.
a mother.
Correct.
And no
I don't
matter
have a
who
mother.
you
I
are,
have some woman who I can go to if I need them, and they're
And she's not missing out on a mother because she doesn't have one, and nobody should be able to tell her that.
That sentence does not make sense. She's not missing out on a mother. She just doesn't have one.
She has a mother. She just doesn't have a relationship.
I didn't have my father my whole entire, childhood. From the age of 22 until now, I have a good relationship with my father.
Reach.
I was missing something.
And actually, that's pretty much exactly the same a story that I had. I mean, not exactly. My dad was a great, great provider for the family, but just working a lot. I didn't get to have build a relationship with him. And then, as you guys saw from the monetization party, we are great friends now. We're able to have good conversations, but it took a lot of work.
I didn't really have a great relationship with my mother. My mother never talked to me, never said 2 words to me. I had absolutely nobody. So to say that, oh, I don't need a
But
mom.
being raised by a single parent
not-
and being
it's
raised
not
by
about- but
a
it's-
two-parent
in fact,
household, foundationally,
It's not about
economically,
that. It's
spiritually,
not about that,
it is
because
about
at the end
that.
of the day, at the end
It
of the
is
day,
about
at the end of the day, I don't want my household to be a free-for-all for anybody and everybody to come with their political views, their religious views. If I say I don't want my daughter to have sex before marriage, I don't want my
Good luck on that one, bro.
best friend Susie to come and say,
Absolutely not.
you gotta
Why
pick
do
your
you think
friends.
that's what my household is?
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking
Absolutely. I
about
agree.
my
I
household.
agree 1,000%.
I'm not talking about you. I don't know about your situation. What I'm saying is, as far as me and my house, I'm not going to
Nail
let everybody, whether I love them. I understand what you guys are saying about
As you
love.
shouldn't.
Trust
As
me.
you
I understand
shouldn't.
what you guys are saying about love, and I agree.
And it be
Let him talk. Oh my God. I cannot stand people who are part of these things and just dominate. And if you have something good to say and you're dominating because you know, on the merits of what you're saying, that's one thing. But you're just talking over people. Shut up.
Children
It'd be
need
heterosexual.
love, but also children need order.
Absolutely.
So therefore,
You agree with him and you're still yelling over him.
or in a same-sex house, the order of the natural order is being stripped away. I'm not saying you don't love your daughters. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the order. You love your two dads. That's great. They support you. They love you. They do things for you. They provide for you. That's amazing. But you're missing the substance of order that can help guide you
Hold on, can I
in
speak?
different directions.
Can I
Yes,
speak,
sure,
please?
sure.
What am I missing?
A mother.
Pinpoint exactly what I am missing.
A mother.
And how, right, what am I missing from that?
Fundamental difference between a mother and a father.
Okay, so what can you point to in me?
Look,
I
that
don't
would
know
be
you.
different?
This is a perfect example because she doesn't even know what she's missing because she hasn't had the experience of having a mother. So she has no idea what the experience of living with a mother could be like. And so, of course, you don't think you're missing out on anything. I'm sure people who have never heard of the internet are not jonesing for TikTok. You don't know what you got till it's gone.
I don't know you. That's why I asked the question originally.
I can say this. We don't know you personally.
Mhm.
So when we say that you're missing something from not having a mother, you're missing guidance in different ways. Anybody
What?
can
Where?
look, anybody can fabricate emotion. I have
Facts.
2 daughters. I can go to my daughter and I can play Barbies with my daughter. She puts on her dresses. I'll be the king. She's the princess. And I can get on the ground crawl. I can make myself be feminine enough for me and her to have a good time. But the real femininity can only come from her mother.
You're
I can
wild.
only do
You're
so
wild.
much.
Wait, 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 wait,
That's
wait,
why-
wait,
that's
wait,
why I have a
wait,
question.
Stop. Real
Wild.
quick. We need to move on in just a moment. We haven't heard from Brittany or Alexa.
I think it's really important to realize that it takes a village.
Queer
It takes
parent
a
here.
village to raise children. So
Mm.
with Elizabeth coming from a 2-parent household, which was a big topic for the agreeers here, a 2-parent household, I don't think she's missing on anything. I raise my children with my wife. My daughter knows no different, you know?
Exactly. She knows no different. So if she has never had the experience on having what she is missing, then how could she possibly be able to recognize what exactly it is that she's missing? Doesn't make sense. The math ain't mathin'. Hey, we got Nick in the building. What is good? What is good? How am I doing? Very, very good, especially now that you are here. Welcome to the party. I hope everyone else is doing great today. Great too. Glad you are here as well, brother. Glad you are here. Anything over here? I was so close. No, I'm not gonna go there.
She is not missing anything. Neither
Except a father.
is my son.
Do you think one day they will?
Absolutely not.
Of course you don't, because you don't know any better.
I have a question. I don't know how to ask this question. Was it like were you with a male when you had your daughter?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So I guess my question is more so for people for queer people who adopt children.
Okay.
Mm.
Is there a agenda connected to it to purposely, for the sake of society, community,
This is the Munchausen by proxy that I was just talking about.
to adopt children into your home to prove a point? I think that's
I guess I
what
could say
causes.
the
I
same
think that's
thing for
what
you,
causes
though.
the.
If you're having a kid for a political agenda,
no,
you
no,
should
no,
not be a
no, no,
parent.
no.
I wonder why white folks adopt black kids all the time. You
Because there's more black kids to be adopted. Is that a serious question?
always see white families adopt black children from Africa, and I'm like, why can't you adopt, a little white kid?
And then you adopt a white kid, and so there's so many black kids out there, and you're gonna go just because of white supremacy. You're gonna like, come on.
When you look at television, when you look at reality TV, I feel, just from what I'm seeing, I don't go off of statistics and data. That's a bunch of BS. I go off.
And it used to be such an ignorant thing to talk about studies and stuff in this way, but specifically with this gender stuff. And we've seen that the institutions have been infiltrated by these wokesters. It is kind of legitimate to be like, okay, a study is whatever. And there's always been, I forget what they call it. There's some rule, law, whatever, that you can find an expert to verify anything that you're saying on any topic on either side. That's why very often in court, they'll have an expert witness for the defense saying one thing and an expert witness of the same type of expertise for the defense saying something completely different. And that was before the institutions got corrupted. So, this idea of the science has become scientism, another yet religion that was replaced because so many of you keep tying God to politics.
For what I see.
When Homeboy has said that he doesn't believe in data or statistics, I don't think it was a subtle eye roll. I definitely got whiplash.
And that's the liberal elitism. You don't know how to read a study any better than he does. But because somebody told you that they're smarter than you, like, oh, okay, I guess so.
How else do you make a point that is professional and mature if you're not citing data and you're not citing research and you're calling it all bullshit? That scrapped all of his credibility for me. You're talking about kids of gay parents and you're saying that they're all these things. And I, the person you're talking about, am sitting here telling you you're wrong. And
that's not data and statistics. That's anecdotal. That is why the studies and all that stuff is irrelevant to this particular conversation, because that's not the vein in which we're talking about this. If you would like to bring those up and if you would like to make that argument, then you can do that. But if you're talking about you and your family and your life and your experience, then statistics are irrelevant.
You're still interrupting me and you're still invalidating me and you're still telling me that your opinion must be right, even though you're not in my shoes. That was really shocking.
Actually, we're saying that you saying your opinion must be right just because it's your opinion doesn't apply to everybody. That's all that was being said.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to some earlier points. We've been talking a lot about what is natural, what is order. I'd like to say that there are many, many studies of over 1,500 non-human species of animals that they parent in their species children that are not biologically theirs. I also don't think that reproduction is the end-all be-all of what a family is to be.
Sure. Yeah. Obviously, that there are situations where kids grow up in less than ideal situations, as we've talked about, and the family has to be made and built from people that not your blood relatives. But again, that is not what we are talking about.
You're allowed to have your own biblical beliefs. I totally understand that and respect that.
So do I. Just leave them out of politics.
What you're talking about with sustainability, I'm not suddenly going to tell all the straight people to suddenly partner up with people of the same sex and no longer reproduce. It's a minority of people that are queer that do want to have children. And I just think that they should be allowed to have children. And I don't think that they are depriving the children of anything.
Well, you made two statements there. Nobody said they should not be allowed to have children. The prompt was, it is best for a child to have a mother and a father. Nobody said we're trying to ban anything or anything like that. And as we've said many, many, many times in this conversation, absolutely, you are depriving the child of the best context for them to grow up in.
Because I think the foundation of what a family should be is to provide a child with love and support and raise them into respectable, upstanding citizens. I think it's important to have masculine energy, to have feminine energy, to have any other energy that there is. I just don't think that that is necessarily the job of the parents to incorporate these gender roles into it.
So if it's not the parents' job, then whose job is it? The teachers? The people who don't talk about Munchausen by proxy with these parents. These teachers trying to broom these children. That's all about virtue signaling. Look how pride friendly. Look how accepting. Look how tolerant I am and my kids. Come on.
Are we able to qualify something before the next one?
May I respond to Elizabeth?
No, reset.
I need to know.
Reset,
Boo.
reset.
Look it up. I think we all do.
It's necessary for parents to have open dialogue about sex with their children.
All right. So this is a spicy one. It is I didn't put it up yet. Give me a second. It is necessary for parents to have an open dialogue about sex with children. Agree or disagree? Hey, we got Liquid Mineral Factory in the building. What is going on? What is going on? So it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Fair enough. Welcome to the party.
I do believe it's necessary, but I believe you have to do it at an appropriate age. But once they're ready, then I think you should have those conversations so that they don't have to go outside the family for that information. I never felt comfortable going to my parents at all, or my mom. I never felt comfortable going to her. I would like to create a space for my child, which I have, where I hope that no matter what happens in her life, that she feels comfortable going to me at least. And then I will help her, or together we'll determine if she's actually ready for the conversation. And hopefully she is.
I definitely agree with you. I think it's so important to be able to have a dialogue.
Is she crying? What are you crying about?
Kids feel like they can come to you and not necessarily enforcing that you have to come to me for this.
I think the nuance that's being lost in this prompt is, I mean, it was brought up, but when to start and what to say at that first conversation. Because you don't have to teach everything about sex to a child the first time you have the conversation. It can be an ongoing thing. First, you can kind of just say, okay, you know, usually it's about how did I get born, or how are a baby's made or something. You can start there. When two people love each other, they get married and they do this, and then, you know, a little bit older, then they're thinking, you know, getting near their teenage years, and they're thinking about, you know, more recreational sex, and say, look, hey, this is, you know, something people do, and you can be a slow thing. Slow it down. Slow. I don't understand this push to immediately, like basically right out the gate, right out the womb, they want these kids to be the most educated on sex about everything right away. Why? Why do we need it? Hey, we got Chester in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. I'm going to leave this up for a minute.
One thing is like when it's much younger.
I'm really sorry. I just haven't been told I was raised wrong in a long time.
There's the problem. Nobody has told you that you've been raised wrong. And so now, when you're confronted with the reality, it makes you very upset. And it is upsetting. But now you're sitting on camera in front of, you know, however many millions of people are going to watch this video. Not this video. I wish millions of people will watch this video. But how many tens, hundreds of thousands are going to watch the Jubilee video? And that's how you have to deal with it in that context. Instead of over time, with your own family, with your own friends, you've been stuck in this bubble that, oh no, your life is fine, everything's great, and you're not missing out on anything. And then you get hit in the face with some facts, and it doesn't feel so good, right? Imagine crying because another motherfucker doesn't agree with your ideas. No, I mean, hey, to be fair, she's crying because she's been told that she wasn't raised right. And the fact is, it's true, so it's cutting deep. And so, I mean, I have a little bit of sympathy for her in the sense that she's so indoctrinated to think that her life is just like everybody else's when it's not. And that's okay, but it's not like everybody else. Yeah, things are gonna, I don't know about that. I mean, what's done is done. What's done is done.
There's just a lot of trauma associated with this.
Oh, I thought you weren't missing anything. Now there's so much trauma. Now there's so much trauma. I thought you were doing great.
And it's not trauma for my family. It's trauma from people telling me it's wrong.
Nope. It's trauma from your family. This, in psychology, is what we call rationalization. She's twisting the facts of what just happened. You're not crying about this at home. You're not crying. You just told us you haven't thought about this in a long time. Why is that? Because you were just hit with these facts. And if they weren't facts, you wouldn't be upset about it.
I know my family is right, and I know my family is normal. I didn't know it. I didn't know my family was not normal.
She just said, my family is normal. I didn't know my family was not normal. Can't have it both ways, honey.
I didn't know it. I didn't know my family was not normal until other people decided to tell me that.
Exactly. This is why your parents should have had this conversation with you, so that some stranger on a panel is not opening you up to this. This is exactly the point. Precisely what we're talking about.
And that was nobody else's business to say that.
No one else's business.
Absolutely not.
And this is my biggest fear for my two daughters. For me, I feel like I have to prepare them as much as humanly possible.
Exactly. Exactly, Eric. You are in, you're in a situation where your kid is going to grow up to be exactly like her. And she is not prepared for the reality that whether you want to say it's right or it's normal or it's whatever, she was not prepared for other people to openly say, no, you're missing something. You need a mother. And so now Eric here is saying, okay, at least I'm seeing this, and I do want to prepare my child for that. Because again, nobody's saying queer parents, gay parents, whatever. Well, I mean, some of you guys are, but I'm certainly not saying they shouldn't or can't have children. It's just a different situation, and you need to prepare them for that. Nick says, I agree. My mom was great with that kind of thing. She just answered my questions without telling me more than I asked. There you go. Shout out to Nick's mom. Not in a bad way. You know what I mean? She would get out she would get out an anatomy book and explain things scientifically. That's the way to go. That is the way to go. And like you said, without telling you more than you asked. Let the kids ask questions and then just answer them. Instead of shoving, drag queen story hour down their throat. And then because, a 5-year-old boy likes to wear a dress, now we have to put you on medication and ruin your entire life that is likely to be ended shortly.
For that outside world that can tell you that you're wrong or that your family is wrong, because that's one of my biggest fears.
I don't think anybody said wrong, but
a lot of people say
I grew up
wrong.
in a less than ideal family. A less than ideal, I think, is where.
So here's where I think if I understand where she's going, there's other ways to have a less than ideal living situation than not having the two parents. And so if she can talk about something that is not that, but is, hey, that's a less than ideal, and I'm aware of that, and I had to deal with that. This girl doesn't think that there's anything less than ideal about her life or her family or the way that it's set up, but here she is crying about it. Hey, we got Dietrich's in the building. What is good? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the problem is the anecdotal opens this. Yeah, exactly. The anecdotal opens the discussion purely because the protection of children has pinballed so much in an open society based on the war of opinionated morality won by the loud and the radical. Well said, brother. Well said. Whoever's loudest wins. That's what so many people believe, and that is exactly what we are trying to fight against. Pay attention, brother. Pay attention. When you talk about anecdotes, then this is the same person talking anecdotally about saying the other person who wasn't citing studies lost all credibility. Like, you can't have it both ways.
But there was nothing less ideal about her situation.
No, this is what she's hearing, though. This is what she is perceiving that she's hearing.
I'm hearing it too. I'm hearing invalidation of her family, of the structure. She got a 2-parent household right now. Most heterosexual families end up in divorce. We don't.
And that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair point. That doesn't mean that because divorce is a less than ideal situation, that same-sex parents are a less than ideal situation. Two things can be true at the same time.
Also, every single screwed up person I know has a mom and a dad.
We don't end up
Every
divorced.
single screwed up person has a mom and a dad.
And who's the one crying on cam right now? So if people who do have that ideal situation are royally screwed up, then why do you think that doesn't apply to you, but extra because you don't have that situation?
I've met nobody royally screwed up. with 2
Anecdotes.
moms and 2 dads.
How many people do you actually know with 2 moms or 2 dads?
That's that.
And honestly,
Is it though? Is that? That ain't that.
most gay kids' parents are straight. We come from y'all.
Well, they all have to.
Well,
Biologically.
Well, no,
They all-
not necessarily. No, not the adopted
Unless you're
kids.
having, but they all
Did she just say that adopted kids don't come from a woman? I don't think she realizes how exactly, Nick. She can't know many people if that's true. And regardless of how many people she knows, unless she really is in an echo chamber, then for her to say that she knows even an equal amount of people with same-sex parents as people with a mother and a father. No, you don't.
all
other
came
queer
from a
kids,
straight relationship.
But our parents are heterosexual.
No,
Not
I'm
necessarily.
biologically related to one of my dads. My brother is biologically related to the other, and they had us via egg donation and surrogacy. So there's still a biological connection in my house, and
it's totally the same. We're not missing out on anything.
And I'm glad I have that connection, but I also have one of my dads who has straight parents was adopted. And it just, biology doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Biology doesn't mean anything. 2023, folks. And Liquid Mineral Factory, No Freedoms is our resident troll. So don't take him too seriously.
And I wish people would stress it less, because that's where a lot of the hate comes from is, oh, if you're gay, clearly something's wrong. If you have 2 dads, clearly something is wrong with you. And
Nope. You're straw manning the position. Nobody said clearly there's something wrong with you because you have 2 dads. The prompt was, is it the best situation to have a mom and a dad? All things being equal, obviously, if you have 2 heroin addicts as parents, but one's a male and one's female, and then you have 2 upstanding gay dudes, obviously the gay dudes are going to be a better situation for that child. But we're saying if everything being equal, the ideal situation is a man and a woman.
we automatically assume that children like me or people like my parents aren't as good as purely because they're different.
Nope, exactly. Nobody said that. You are interpreting that because you can't deal with the fact that your perspective on your life is not as accurate as you thought. And now that people are here to actually show that to you in a way that you can hide, which is exactly why you're getting upset, you're trying to, again, twist it and rationalize it into turning yourself into a victim. And in a weird way, because the argument is that you are a victim by not having a mother in the house. But still, that's not enough. And you have to find some other way to cry and get attention from that.
Nobody said that.
No one said it in this room, but the world says it. And that's not fair.
The world says it.
Let's just.
Do you know what the world says about short men? I don't want to hear it from you.
Everyone just take a breath. Just take a moment before we circle back to the prompt, okay? Just take a deep breath. Do we feel okay to, yeah? Okay. It's necessary for parents to have open dialogue about sex with their children.
Oh yeah, I forgot we moved on from that other one. But so this is the prompt again. It's necessary for parents to have an open dialogue about sex with their children, and the disagreeers, the 2 conservative guys, are about to come on in.
I would also say that from a young age, we can talk about things that are involved with like sex ed, but not explicitly sex. For instance,
Just, nice shirt. Support Black trans lives. What about women's lives? You don't care about women's lives? Jeez, what a racist.
Like consent is a very important topic that
Christ, we don't do insults here. We don't do insults. You could get as heated as you want, but we attack ideas, not people. Name calling is going to get you banned. You're having a lot of fun. You're getting a lot of attention. Soak it up. Follow the rules.
I think should be brought up as young as possible. We mentioned before about the case of you don't have to hug your uncle if you don't want to, or hey, do you want help cleaning that mess up or something? I think those are inherently part of good sex education, but they're not explicitly like about sex.
I think growing up, I didn't have much social media, so like I never like saw this stuff, but I'm going
Gen Z, you didn't have much social media?
Instagram now. Just so many posts, so many stories are just about all these things about sex, consent, and it can really go both ways, right? There's extremes on both sides, but the age that it starts at, you should really just encourage your kid to you should tell them the bare minimum, the biological standard, right? There's two biological sexes, stuff happens, but really let them do their own research and encourage them to research both sides rather than just.
I don't think I would. I'm not a parent, but I don't think I would want my child just doing their own research. We all know what that means. Nick says, no worries. We'll keep treating him with respect because we need good karma, not bad. Hope you are doing well. Christ brings a sword. Yes, unfortunately, as is always the case, Christians come in here with their vitriol, and me, the atheist, can love you anyway. If Jesus was here right now, we think you'd like me better or you? Christ brings a sword.
Just like mainly
What
pushing your
age
ideas.
are you saying?
Whenever they get social media, whenever they first hear about it and they have any questions about it. So I grew up with religious and conservative parents, but they never made it clear that those two parts of my identity were the only things that were to rule my entire lifestyle. So what I mean by that is, growing up, I would hear about politics. Whenever I would ask them a question about it, they never made it clear what their stance on it was because they wanted me to explore both sides. And whenever I ask them questions, they always tell me to explore the thing first, go on Google, research, go to.
So I think that's, I think that's really good for her parents to have been approached, for her to approach things on her own. I just don't think that sex is the right thing to be doing your own research.
Different sources, and then we can have a discussion once I've really been truly informed.
If we're empowering them to do their own research, they can get into the very wrong sides of doing that research. For instance, most people I know got their sex ed from porn. And if we're talking about, sex and consent, I don't think
good one, Breedom.
Anyone in this room is thinking that porn is a great example of sex ed.
My son I definitely caught my son watching porn, and he's 14 years old, and it was a conversation. And I didn't shame him, but if this is already happening, what do I look like coming at him and reprimanding him and telling him this is a boundary or we don't do this in this house because you're going to go to all this action? It's like, no, this is already happening. So if now I'm just now finding out about it. So now there's a communication and we actually had a whole on conversation about why this isn't real and why this is not okay for you. You're going to be an adult the rest of your life, honey. Be a 14-year-old right now. And he's like, you're right, Mom.
But also, it's cool if you want to be queer and change your gender.
Don't worry about it again. You're probably still sneaking and watching porn, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be able to stop that. I'm going to be able to communicate with them and do the best I can do. That's all we can do.
See, but that's good because you told him about this stuff before it got worse.
Yep.
So I have a son and a daughter. My son is almost 7. My daughter's 4. So, I don't like to keep that, like if one's showering, the other's in their room and vice versa. But one thing I guess I stepped forward for was mostly because we use the word penis. We use the word vagina. I want them to know their anatomy. I want them to know that this is what you have. This is nobody touches this. Nobody sees it other than you. Or like if I'm giving you a shower or helping you wipe your butt, like things like that. I learned about sex from boys being gross in class. I didn't know how anything worked. And that's kind of because
always comes back to how horrible men are.
Like you said, you didn't have a good relationship with your parents. I didn't have that. I wasn't comfortable asking my mom or my dad, like, what is this?
Didn't you just say you didn't have a mom? Or was that this girl here? Oh yeah, she's a queer parent. Okay. I was like, wait a minute.
They
Stop the
probably should have
cap.
been the ones to educate me first. Probably wouldn't have became a teen parent, but
Yeah, I only
All
hung
right,
back
so
because
disagreeers here. Again, the prompt is: it is necessary for parents to have an open dialogue about sex with their children.
I agree and I disagree. Like for me, it was very interesting. I have mom and dad. My mother's a very very Latin woman, so it's kind of funny that she was the one who I talked to about sex more than my dad. I don't think I've ever said more than 2 words to my dad up until this day about sex. So for my daughter, I almost kind of want to mirror that for obvious reasons. I mean, that might just be a better
Wait, he wants to mirror not having that conversation? I would guess so, because he said he disagrees. Okay.
conversation for her mom to have with her. I mean, I'm willing to have a conversation, but I also feel a little bit uncomfortable at the same time. Maybe that has to do with my past. I don't know. But yeah, I think the younger people here have it so incredibly difficult and so incredibly easy just because they have everything available to them at the same time. Where like me, you, like you over there, like you have to figure stuff out from like, you know, blurry VHS tapes or like slow internet downloads and stuff like that.
No freedoms. We definitely could have guessed. Yep.
So it's very like I'm not jealous of you guys at all.
That's fair. That's fair to say that I might not feel comfortable talking to my daughter about intercourse.
Right.
That's completely. It was way easier for me to talk to my son about how bitches are. Like, look, you're good at basketball, you know what I'm saying? Or you're good at athletics and whatnot. Like, I know how women are going to be.
When it comes to courting, yeah, like I could talk to her probably a lot easier than
Absolutely.
I said disagree because of the word necessary. I don't think that it's necessary. You know, everyone's watched Animal Planet. Nobody teaches the lion cubs how to have sex or what to do. I think it's ingrained in all of us. I think it's just something that is the result of evolutionary biology. My dad was a very strong masculine figure in my life, and he was always there for me. But I never had the birds and the bees talk. I never had it. I went through puberty. I felt all the things that young boys feel going through puberty. I used my eyes and I looked around the world. I talked to my friends like curious kids do, and we figured it out. And we kind of knew what was going on. But something you said actually made me think and almost reconsider if I made the right choice.
Before he goes into that, Maury, go lay down, please. For forever, this is a natural thing. We are biologically ingrained with the understanding of how to reproduce. The problem is when things like prawn and all that become the replacement for the teachers. You know, left to their own devices, kids will figure it out. And back in the day, that was, not really a problem, because by the time you were at that age, that was appropriate. And now that we have much longer lifespan, and that's spread out more, and all, even it's not the same. And so I completely forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry, guys. Let me back this up one sec, see if I can get it.
My friends, like curious kids do, and we figured it out, and we kind of knew what was going on. But something you said actually made me.
Oh yeah, so I was basically just gonna say that he had the same kind of experience as most of us. That maybe a lot of you did have a birds and the bees talk. I certainly didn't. The first time I ever had an experience with that is I was on my computer, and that was still, like he said, in the dial-up days, and I was downloading pictures. And I had a folder within a folder within a folder within a folder within a folder with a weird name, and it had 5 folders and one of them. What I didn't realize was that there was a in the start menu that recent files, and my very, very Christian mom found it, and she was not happy. My dad was just like, "Hey, at least you're looking at women." But yeah, I mean, that's how we all figure it out, you know.
Think and almost reconsider if I made the right choice. And that was about pornography, because this is a.
Hold on, guys. I just realized something. I just realized that we have been talking about sea bass, and I forgot that we were referring to Christ brings a sword. It wasn't until I saw this. Bro, we've been waiting for you. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about that. That is hilarious.
A very big issue, and it's very pervasive in our society today. The average age of first exposure to pornography in this country is 11, and some social scientists are saying that it's getting younger every year. To
Makes
keep
sense.
people viewing, to keep the dopamine hits coming to these viewers, these young viewers, it's escalating behaviors. It's rape, it's incest, it's aggression. It is these horribly violent behaviors that they're learning for the first time. You know, by 18 years old, it's over 90% of young boys have seen porn and 60% for young women. And that is.
But is that a problem if the conversation is had? Because we all like porn. So it's not a matter of that it's inherently bad. It's just the understanding that this is a performance. This isn't real. This isn't how if you're in love and trying to have children and so on and so on. It's not going to look like this or sound like this, and all of that. I'm not saying it's great for 11-year-olds to be watching it, but again, the age is getting younger and younger. Kids are going to find it, so better guide them then just let them be on their own.
That is something that we have to recognize. I think it is good to have some discussions about this, but I also think that this ties back to why it's important to have a two-parent home.
Oh, you can hurt feelings, Seabass. You just can't directly attack people. So if you say something and it's true and Chester gets mad at it, that's on Chester. You just can't name call. That's all.
Because it's not just about telling your kids what is right. Kids are very visual learners. And so when they see your mother and father interacting with each other in a loving, nurturing way, they internalize that. They see that, and they in turn go out and they treat other people like that, whether that's their girlfriend or boyfriend. And so that's, I think, one of the big values of having a two-parent, two-sex home.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed. And we'll give you a little time out. And we'll see if you learn your lesson. You got 300 seconds to just chill and sit and pray to your Lord. And maybe in 300 seconds, you'll be a better person.
I think being honest, because even being conservative, I think we can be a little hypocritical, like we're so perfect and we have this perfect family, but it's like, no, your mama was a hoe. Yeah, your dad used to sniff coke, so we're not perfect. And just being honest and transparent and seeing, certain things in our children and being able to address those things in a timely manner. So
Nick, oh my God, I must have been about 13 or 14 when that happened, and my dad found that stuff. And I mean, coming from an immigrant household, my siblings and I are first generation Americans. And like I said, my parents are very Christian. So there was that. And then when I was about 16 or 17, I had a girlfriend. I went over to her house and we were going to do the do. And then we didn't. And I had a condom in my pocket. And I accidentally left the condom in my jeans pocket and put the jeans in the wash. And it was like 11 o'clock at night, on a school night. My mom barges into my room. And she's like, "Is this yours?" And the light's behind her. I can't see what it is. I was like, what is that? She's like, "Look at it." And I was like, maybe. It was bad. It was weird.
So I don't think that.
And so to tie this into what we're talking about, it was very embarrassing. But if my parents had done a better job of explaining what all of this was, then it probably wouldn't have been. And I would have liked a little pat on the back for being responsible for even using a condom in the first place, but that didn't happen.
That it's necessary for my kids' age to talk about sex, and I would rather them just for now see the intimacy between a mother and a father before I drop that ball, on them. So.
All right. So new prompt.
Children should strive to meet their parents' expectations.
Okay. I fail to see how you could disagree with that. Really? They had a lot of trouble with this one. The prompt is just the children should strive to meet their parents' expectations. It doesn't say children should do exactly as their parents say in exactly the way that they do it and da-da-da-da-da-da. It's just saying probably a good idea for children to follow their parents' lead.
That's a valid question. What are those expectations? Do we expect our kids to be rocket scientists as soon as they're born? Probably not. If it's like good, upstanding citizens who love and respect their family and their friends, I think so. And I'm sure there are some children of immigrants here who probably have a very high standard expected of them from the day that they were born or the day that they moved to this country.
And that's one thing I wish Asian American households like changed. We should always be expecting improvement. I think that's the one thing that parents should always be putting on their kids. Thing is, I was really bad at math. Like I did not learn how to add positive and negative numbers until like 7th, late 8th grade, which is really, really bad. Okay, especially for an Asian. But the thing is, it doesn't matter where your kid starts. You should always be encouraging them to improve. You don't set quantitative standards for them, saying get an A on this, get B on this. What you should be encouraging is, oh, you got a C? Try to get C plus, B. Small steps are what gets your kid there.
I don't want to create.
I love that. I love that because I was always an A-B student, but for the most part, but I would get C's here and there. And even when I got B's in school, it's like, well, why didn't you get an A? Well, I mean, because I don't really, I was almost going to curse. I'm getting better because I just don't really care. I know that I know this. I know that I don't need to memorize this, whatever it is. I just don't care.
Not create, but raise a child that is reckless. Like, okay, well, you have the freedom, be yourself.
What word? So Chester said he disagrees with the prompt. Children should strive to meet their parents' expectations. And he says mainly due to the word should. So Chester, how would you reword the prompt? And David says that's a good mindset. Encourage your children. Build them up instead of crushing them over little shiz. See?
Express yourself, do whatever you want. And then, she comes home, 16 and pregnant. I'm like, you did this and blah, blah, blah. Well, Dad, you didn't tell me anything. So the expectations isn't to be perfect, but just take a little bit of the things that she's learned, that they've learned from their mom and dad and utilize them in their life to the best of their abilities. And if they can do that, I'm happy. My
there you go.
Style, I feel
it's very interesting how every time, whatever side it is, that whether it's conservatives, whether it's, whatever is the closest to the societal norm, those people usually on the, like in these videos, those people usually have not that very controversial statements. It's always the people on the other side who take issue with it. But a lot of things that these conservative parents, whether it was when it was conservative kids, when it was, trans versus not, or whatever it was, it's always the I'm trying to be respectful, the other group that has such an issue with just the way things have always been done. And there's certainly things that we can improve about society and so on and so forth. But it's not like society, especially American Western society, is the worst thing in the world. We have so many luxuries and I mean, so much that you could argue we have too much. But yet, again, for the leftists, it's never enough. Lee says, as a father, I see my number one job is to encourage my kid. There you go. Love it, Lee. Love it. So Austin saying my parenting style is
I would say it's strict, but it's not strict. Although my children aren't allowed to be exposed to certain things, they still have an amazing way of life because they get to do things with their mother and father who are actually present while they're in their presence instead of scrolling on social media and ignoring the child, when the child could be needing you more than you think. So I pride myself on being as present as I can and setting that strong foundation for my children.
That's a good point too, because you especially as social media is evolving at an exponential rate, just putting an iPad in front of your kid is even for short periods of time is so potentially dangerous. Not that they are watching a screen, but what can be found and how insidious some people are in terms of trying to get illicit content in front of your children and bypassing, the YouTube Kids filters and all that kind of stuff. you need to be a more involved parent now than in any other generation. It said, I think you should be strict on a lot of things as a parent, especially, oh, there we go. Give you a bell there, especially on how they interact with the internet. Exactly.
I think it's also important to teach your kids that the expectations you're setting for them and those goals that you're setting for them isn't for you, it's for them. And that's something really important that my parents taught me, was that here are the goals, here's what we expect out of you. But at the end of the day, your successes are your own and your failures are your own. And one day, mom and dad aren't going to be here, and you're going to have only yourself to look to for your accomplishments.
Exactly. Nick says, I feel for you, bro. I'm lucky my mom explained things to me in a way that I understood, and nothing was gross or anything like that. I just understand that's life. Being a farm boy didn't hurt neither. Yep. You saw a lot more than I did at a young age being on a farm. That's for sure. That is for sure.
And so it's setting the goals and setting the bar, but then making them realize this is all you. The ball's in your court and your life is in your hands. It's not in ours.
I like this guy. I feel like, I say this all the time, but I feel like the millennials and the boomers, and I'm a millennial, millennials and boomers are the absolute worst generations alive right now. My generation is just, pick an issue, and we've messed it up. And Gen Z is kind of following in our footsteps, but they're still young. And as I see a lot more Gen Z, as time goes on and Gen Z kids get older and older and older, getting further into their 20s and become actual adults, I'm seeing a lot of even though the progressive, woke, liberal, all of that stuff is ingrained in the society just like anybody else, they're a lot more skeptical of at least some of the things. And that's not everybody, but it's a good thing. And hey, we got JR in the building. Welcome. And this is another reason why I like Gen Z. Welcome to the party, brother. Welcome. Oh, Seabass is back. Let's see if he is gonna be nice. I was born in 62, the peak of nuclear testing. That explains my problems. Your generation gets jabbed. Speak for yourself, not me.
The expectation that I have is just they're the best person that they could be. And I think that's the same for every parent. I mean, that's the goal and the wish, that your child is happy and healthy and content of who they are and what they're doing. And of course, I'm going to push them to take the next step, and I'll always push them. But, I think that
guys, can you do me a favor? Just give me 2 more likes, just 2. That's all, please. Thank you.
Expectation is a valid one.
All right, so now we had 2 disagreeers with children should strive to meet their parents' expectations. Chester said he didn't like the word should, so maybe we'll have a better prompt, but that is the prompt, and these 2 disagree.
I agree with a lot of the stuff you guys were saying, but the reason I didn't fully step forward was I immediately thought of my parents. And my parents both grew up in conservative homes and were told that they should, the whole goal was to go to college, get a wife, and have kids. If my parents
take college out, sounds like a good life plan.
Met the expectation that they were going to get married and have a wife and have kids, 1, they might have killed themselves and not been here today. 2, I definitely wouldn't have been here. My brother wouldn't have been here. So it can't be the end all be all to meet your parents' expectations.
My parents.
But again, that was not the prompt. The prompt was should. That's why I like the prompt. And Seabass, thank you for the like. I appreciate that. But I warned you very politely that please do not call people names, and you can get as heated as you like, but attack their ideas. And then you purposely said in your next chat an insult. What would you have me do? You have nothing to forgive me for. You have something to be forgiven for. Maybe Chester will forgive you. Probably doesn't really care. But
are immigrants from India.
Yes, correct.
And their expectation for me is to accomplish the American dream, to blend into white society, to blend into like rich American society. They placed me from the age of 5 in a all-boys school.
Thank you, David.
Until the age of 15. And their expectation was for me to blend in. I'm sorry, I can't meet that. Like, I'm a woman. I'm not going to meet your expectation of going to an all boys school. That I don't think that's me doing something wrong there. That's me just living my
What?
truth. But there's other expectations that I think are very appropriate for them to have me meet. You know, they want me to go to a good college. They want me to succeed and be happy and accomplish my dreams.
I'm glad she hasn't been talking more. She is not only boring, but she is just. Does anybody understand what she's saying? I would back it up if it was. I thought there was anything there, but I don't think there is. So Chester said he didn't like the prompt because of the word should. So he says the word should implies moral imperative, and parents' expectations may not actually be morally justifiable. Okay, so then how would you change the prompt to say that generally it is a good idea for children to follow their parents' lead? That is what the prompt is. You're free to disagree with it, but how would you reword it to mean that same thing? It goes on to say, therefore, it's inappropriate to say children should do something that is not specifically defined in the prompt. Parents' expectation is too vague. Well, that's the point, though. The point is for it to be vague because we're not talking about a specific thing. We're talking about, in general, a parent is likely to have better or have more of an interest in the well-being of a child than anybody else. So again, this going back to the other prompt about is it ideal to have a mother and a father? Yes, it is ideal. That doesn't mean that a man and a woman who are addicts and two gay dudes who are upstanding citizens. That doesn't mean that the man and woman are going to do better. We're saying all things being equal, assuming that the parents do have. So I guess my response to that will be, if you can't agree with children should strive to meet their parents' expectations, then what should children do, or how should parents look at their parents' expectations? Because I understand what you're saying, but that's a different conversation.
And I think those are all wonderful, but
I miss what she said.
Have me meet, they want me to go to a good college. They want me to succeed and be happy and accomplish my dreams. And I think those are all wonderful, but I think it's not so black and white. Yeah.
Elementary schools should teach students about sexual orientation and gender identity.
Of course, the Gen Zers are going to go forward. Let's see the queer parents, all of them. Yep.
I don't think they should teach.
Okay, so we got two Gen Zers back there.
Like queer theory or like college level gender classes, but I think they should be taught that these kinds of people exist in the world, and you will grow up in a world where you need to love and respect these people. Okay, so far I'm with that. There's different types of people, and that's what it is. You don't have to like it or agree with it, but there's people like that. So far, I'm okay with that. You need to you don't need to love them, but you should respect them.
Yeah, for me, that like if we're talking specifically elementary school, for me that just looks like having a book in the classroom that is about a two-dad family, or is about someone discovering that they like to wear dresses, and then maybe that disagrees with what they were born as, just something like a children's book, or just some kind of picture on the wall that represents that.
Why? What is the benefit of that? How is that relevant to the purpose of why children go to school? Why are we not talking about teaching children? Thank you for the likes, guys. Why are we not talking about teaching children how to do their taxes, how to start a business, things like that? If we're looking to add more to the curriculum, gender stuff is so far down the list that this is a non-starter. Where are we? So, Nick said this Generation X dude doesn't hold it against you. You're the good exception from your generation. Thank you. 1979, when Disco Dad had a good thing. I was 89. I made being an 80s baby by 31 days. And then Lee said, luckily, my kid's school is pretty conservative. But if I get a hint of that ish, I am going AWOL. Definitely. I mean, anything's awry. Call them cops.
have to be anything beyond that that's not age appropriate. You know, this doesn't involve gay sex education or hormone therapy, or like if we're talking like elementary school kids, it's just representation, like just putting it on everyone's radar that those people are out there.
At its core, it's not about you have to agree with this and this is an agenda. It's about you can agree with this, you can disagree with this, but you need to respect it.
You know, growing up,
Fair.
I didn't have those books. I was questioning myself if I'm normal,
But you're not normal, and that's okay. But you're not normal.
quote, or if I'm, if there's something wrong with me, why do I have these feelings? Is this correct? Because I never had a conversation with my parents.
Okay, well then that's the issue, that you didn't have the conversation with your parents. Not you, but within that's where that conversation should have happened, and that's where that confusion came from. Not from a lack of talking about it in school.
Parents are straight. My whole family is very conservative. So it was really difficult for me to accept myself because I didn't see the acceptance anywhere else.
Okay, and that is something that is not unique to gender identity. That is something that happens to pretty much every child ever. That is what adolescence is. That's why there's a whole genre of movies that are coming of age stories. Movies, books, TV, whatever. It's a whole thing about learning how to deal with who you are and understanding that you're not the same as everybody else, but that's okay. And you are your own person. Whether that has to do with the color of your skin, your height, your music taste, or your taste in people that you want to be with. This is not unique. But you want special pleading. You want us to take away time from everybody else for the 1% of children who are experiencing this, and make it all about that, when many of the kids who it doesn't even apply to in the first place, their parents don't want it being discussed. But that's okay, because it helps you feel better.
It's the exact same thing as different cultures, different religions. It's just another diverse area that you need to be exposed to.
Okay, so then why aren't we getting all of these other things shoved down our throat the way the LGBT stuff is getting shoved down our throat?
And it's like me being okay with schools being taught heterosexual relationships. Like, I'm okay with that. That's something part of the world, of course. Like,
but what are you talking about? Are we talking about, again, the very basic sex education where a man and a woman can make a baby? Yeah, I'm cool with that too. But I don't want children talking, or I don't want teachers talking to children about sex at all. That was the whole thing about the Don't Say Gay bill. It had nothing to do with homosexuality. It had nothing to do with any particular preference or identity or anything like that. It was about having secret sexual conversations with 8-year-olds. And even that was bigoted. Like, come on.
I didn't get any education from it from school.
Again, that is not the school's fault. That is your parents' fault.
And, kids use like, that's gays. Like, you're gay. Like, as a derogatory, So for me, it could be
for me. Like, yeah, we all still, we evolve as a society. There's a lot of things that we did 20, 50, 70 years ago that we no longer do because we've evolved. What's the issue? Shouldn't you be happy that people aren't using gay as a slur anymore? No, it's just not enough. So Chester, again, does not like the prompt. Most of them are. It's so vague that it's being interpreted differently by everybody. That's the point, Chester. If it was just a very pointed yes or no question, it wouldn't be much of a show now, would it?
Simple as like, this girl has 2 dads. My kids have 2 moms. Simple.
Sure, keep it simple. I'm fine with keeping it simple. It's when you get into kink education and you're bringing in toys and talking about the difference between using spit and lube. That is when I have an issue.
Is it Brittany? Okay, so you made a statement just now where you said you think it should just be like this exists and not go any further. So I think my problem with the school system teaching our children these things is that it doesn't just stop there.
Oh my goodness, we've got he's already the sponsor. He's already the sponsor. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. Thank you so much, Dan. Marty, come here. Come get a treat. Come here. Dan hooked you up, bro. Where are you? Oh, he's sleeping. Come here. Come. Hurry up. I'm trying to run a show, bro. Come. Right here. Whoa. Yay. Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much.
And also, what if your boundary is different from her boundary, from his boundary? From everybody's boundary is a little bit different, right? As parents.
Absolutely.
So I don't think the schools understand that. And I don't think government schools really should be raising our children, which they are now, right? You know, we should be really raising our own children. And if we have to put our children in a public school, hopefully they're learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, and the social things and the cultural things and the religious things that are valuable to each one of us should come from inside our household.
Hey, we got just a cog in the buckery in the building. What is good? Yeah, that was a hard one to pause. That was a hard one to get out of my mouth. I mean, it's just so it was so great in terms of its ability to say lame. It was just a good way to express that. The F slur was also just a really good way to say, hey, you're acting lame. But everybody got their panties in a bunch, and now we can't say that anymore. So what are you gonna do? Welcome to the party, just a cog. Glad you are here.
My approach with parenting is to be very loving, very tender, a very good role model. Some people would say I do some attachment parenting because we still sleep in the same bed.
That's a little OD. Well, how old did she say her kids were? Sleeping in the same bed?
But really, it's for a number of reasons, and one being safety, and two being it's more fun than being across the house from my daughter when we're the only two people in the house. We just have a
so we have another single parent who's getting overly attached to her child. Not great. You need a man there.
very tender, loving relationship. I wanted to make sure that I cultivated that in.
And what happens when she gets a few years older? Because I didn't. Did anybody hear if she put her child's age or set her child's age? I'm gonna assume that she's under 10 years old. They're sleeping in the same bed. But eventually that is not going to be the case, especially for girls. By the time she hits 12, 13, 14, she's gonna hate you. And now you've fostered this relationship where you are so connected to her that it's gonna talk about hitting a wall. I'm with you, Carmen, but this is why I need a man in the household.
In my relationship with my child, because I felt like I grew up without that tenderness and that love and that security in my household. So I wanted to make sure that I provided that for my daughter, no matter what.
You said, I'm so sorry to keep bringing this up. I don't want to like trauma bond or anything, but like you didn't have a good relationship with your parents. You weren't able to go and talk to them about sex or your period or things like that.
Mhm.
Where was the best place to get that information other than school, sex ed?
That's the wrong question, because sex ed, unfortunately, was the best place to get that information because of her parents' failure. That is the point, is that we don't want to relegate this type of information to the schools because of how different everybody feels about this stuff. So nowhere, there is no better place than a school sex ed if your parents aren't going to teach you. But we would prefer that your parents teach you so that we can keep that out of schools.
For you.
That's a great point.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I wish that my parents were open and communicative. I had a similar situation to you. And so I ended up learning it from my friends. So friends and magazines and VHS tapes.
She belonged to the streets.
But he mentioned like you learn about these things other ways, but still it should come from the family. I
It
believe
should.
it
Doesn't always,
should come
though.
from the family. Because
That's exactly. It should. It doesn't always. That is what we are trying to change. Whereas you are trying to say, well, it doesn't always happen. So let's just put it in the schools and everybody, no child left behind, right? That worked out so well. No child left behind. Instead of trying to instill in the parents of our culture and new parents that, hey, maybe you didn't get the opportunity to have this conversation with your family, and so you only learned it through your friends. But now that we're the parents, we should do better. instead of just doing the same old damn thing. Damn! Dan's here at 3:43 in the morning, showing love. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. And don't forget, we're doing superlatives at the end. Best troll, best commenter, and biggest super chat for right now. Dan's got that one. So stay tuned for that. Yep, free shirt for all 3 categories. If you guys pick, if you guys can, pick better categories, we'll do as many as you want.
Because I can almost guarantee that every single person here, and anybody who's a parent or just has a parent, we all have a different idea of what we want our children to learn and not learn about these particular social constructs and sex in
But we
general.
exist. That's the
Yeah,
thing
but
is
yeah,
like we
is
exist.
sexual orientation a construct?
I want to add on to that.
No.
Yes.
So I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying when you guys are up here about representation. We should be teaching our kids that people of different sexualities, family types, they exist. But when you have one entity, one curriculum, one school, one government, when you have only one entity teaching a thing that can go both ways in a lot of different directions, there's a lot of room for bias. Like I want my kids when I grow up, I want them to know that these different things exist.
Yep.
But in school, it's just so hard to regulate what's going on.
Exactly. It's so hard to regulate what's going on. And what happened during the lockdowns? Because parents just assumed that school was the same as when they were in school, you just send your kids to school and be like, all right, whatever. But then they actually got to see, because they were they were at home, and a whole bunch of parents were like, whoa, what are you teaching my children? And they got so angry that the I think it was Georgia. Was it Georgia? Somewhere in the South. The government was labeling parents domestic terrorists for reading books that were part of the curriculum. What? How does that make sense? Yep, big hugs for no freedoms. What's good? Anybody out there? Yeah, shout out to Dan.
And I see news stories all the time about these children's books. There's one book about teaching, I don't know the name, but it's about a girl exploring her sexuality. And in the book, it literally says, her friend said, maybe you should try tasting your vaginal discharge to see if you like it or not. And the thing is, nobody's advocating for this stuff, at least I hope not. But do you see, it can get out of hand so quickly.
Yeah, that went left real fast. And exactly how it does. And I'm actually glad that they have these Gen Z kids here, because the parents are not going to have a true understanding of the fact that they do have books like Genderqueer and Just the Tip. Talk about them all the time. Look them up if you're not familiar. I obviously can't show it on YouTube, but those books exist in school libraries, and I'm not sure if they're actually in any curriculums that I'm aware of. But that's why Florida cleared off the shelves in their school library and like, no, hold on. We are going to go through each and every book and make sure that this is appropriate for children. And all the liberals, how dare you? We're like, this is the worst thing ever. What? We just let your children explore, right?
So
That's understandable.
When it's hard to regulate.
But again, in schools, it is curriculum, so it wouldn't be anything outside of.
But it was being taught in the curriculum.
Yeah.
Like the students were being
These books are in the classroom.
I think some teachers be wilding out and
See, this is that's just one. That's not really happening.
bringing in their own personal stuff that's not supposed to be in the curriculum. That shit sounds
Absolutely
wild.
not.
Like, that sounds wild.
We forget.
It is Wild Raw, which is a weird name, but whatever. It is wild. And that is why so many people are up in arms about it.
That, we talk about, the school system and all that stuff, but we forget that these teachers are people too.
A lot of these teachers are my age. They're young.
Exactly. Like, so my daughter, when she went into kindergarten, her teacher was amazing, great. She loved my daughter, treated her very, very well. But the first time I went I think it was back to school, not a parent-teacher conference, there was literally the whole classroom was surrounded with rainbows. And I'm like, rainbow pencils, rainbow ABCs, rainbow. I'm like, okay, we need to know our colors. They need to know their colors. That's cool. But it went
not quite about that, is it?
Went from like, okay, you're teaching them to, okay, what is this? Like, I don't care if you are gay or whatever No. She, she was married, had kids. I don't know if her kids were or anything like that, but it just was like, what are you trying to do? It just felt weird.
Exactly.
No.
Gaslighting. So you have to be gay to like a rainbow?
But no, absolutely not. But I mean, for a 50-year-old woman to have 1,000 rainbows in the classroom when I grew up and there was maybe 1 or 2 or 3.
It's just a coincidence. There's no agenda here. It's just she likes rainbows. And so do all of the teachers that are on Libs or TikTok. They just happen to like rainbows. Nothing wrong with a rainbow. Guys, remember the double rainbow guy? Who can hate a rainbow?
What's
Seems a bit excessive.
what's
The fact that
Excessive is
it
right.
was thought that because there was rainbows in the classroom that was pushing agenda to these kids is just ludicrous to me.
And the fact that it's ludicrous to you is why your opinion does not matter. That is why, because you are blinded by your own biases. It's fine for you to have whatever identity and preferences that you want. That doesn't mean it's okay for teachers to unknowingly to the parents be pushing that on other kids. If you want to dress your kid in rainbow everything every day, you have every right to do that. But it's just ludicrous to think that I wonder if there was Bible verses and crucifixes all over, if Eric here would have a problem with that. I bet you he would.
I mean, to think that a queer person, whether they're a parent or not, has a particular agenda to push LGBTQ community on other people is just ridiculous. And it triggered something in me. And
why did it trigger something in you? Maybe because it was true? Like, this is same thing with the other girl. Why is it so triggering if it's just wrong?
I bit my tongue during that time.
Why? Why did you bite your tongue? If you're so outraged and this person is so wrong and you're here to have a conversation about this, why not have the conversation? But now you just get to sit back and be a victim and get on your high horse and call the other person a bigot, and you didn't even say a word.
I was in 5th grade. I had a gay teacher. We all knew he was gay. We all loved him. And I also had a classmate with 2 moms.
Gay!
And the teacher recognized and said, this student has 2 moms. That's perfectly fine. We're not going to go any further than that.
Good.
Recognizing and seeing the student and telling them that they're safe here. The problem today is what you were talking about, is that it's not just recognition, it's almost indoctrination. It's taking it past just showing people that, yes, you exist and I recognize you.
Yep.
I took sex ed in 5th grade too, and it was very simple. It was the boys went in one classroom with the male teachers, and the girls went into another classroom with the female teachers. And we talked about the anatomy. We could ask questions about sex and questions about puberty. And other than that, that was kind of it.
And that's how sex ed was for me. And we did in my school district, you did an introductory sex ed, which is super basic. I think it was 5th grade. And then in 8th grade, you had a little bit more advanced version. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, why did that need to change? Like, sure, if you want to update it because now we're more accepting of LGBT stuff, I have no problem with that. But like everybody is saying, it's not just about information and education. It is indoctrination. And that is wrong.
But now across this country, you're seeing these types of books that aren't just talking about the biology and the anatomy and teaching kids about procreation. It's talking about pleasure. It's pornographic material, and that has no place in the classroom. And unfortunately, we're almost having to step back and have no sex education, which we want sensible sex education, because people are taking it so far. And my question.
So all the queer parents are here agreeing. So what are we arguing about?
Question to those people that agreed is, why do you not think that parents can sufficiently and appropriately determine how and when they talk to their kids about sex?
Guys, I have one more quick favor for you. Either the URL here or there's a share button. Just slap that and post it all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Let's get this party popping.
And why are these teachers so eager to talk to other parents' children about sex and gender ideology? I've literally traveled the country reporting on this indoctrination, on the drag queen story hour, on the transition closets, on the coming out day. And whether or not you agree with those, that's fine if you agree with them, but you have to also agree that your child is in a classroom with parents that feel very strongly about those issues, and that has to be left to the parent. It is not the teacher's job to say today's coming out day, or to say that you can be called by this pronoun or this pronoun, or you can go in either classroom to talk about this anatomy or this anatomy. It's just not your job.
When it comes
and that's as far as it needs to go. That is not your job. It is not your job to make these decisions for what is appropriate for children. That is just not your job. Nick says, most people don't have conversations anymore. Tell me about it. They have arguments that go nowhere because they're unwilling to listen, think, or change their minds. Exactly, Nick. And that is why one of my favorite sayings that I've really been using a lot lately is stop trying to win an argument and just have the conversation. So many people go in, just like you're saying, looking to just win. Nobody wins a conversation unless both people win by being smarter and coming out the other side better than they went in. You can win an argument, but I'm not interested in having arguments. I'm interested in learning and having conversations.
to pronouns, I feel like that teacher is creating a safe space for that child in case they do come home and they cannot come
That's
out
what
to
it
you
comes
guys.
down to. It's creating safe spaces for the children that aren't like
Like,
your
I
children.
didn't mean to point you guys
Honestly.
out, but you both are very religious.
Right.
And I personally come from a very religious household. No offense, but I am uncomfortable as hell, you know, being
Around Christians.
not necessarily Christians, but people
Catholics, we can be pretty tough.
that. No, I don't mean to like make.
Does anybody see the irony in saying, "Well, I don't like Christians," when you're here saying that queer people are being treated this way, that way, the other? Like, doesn't that just how do you not see that that's the exact same thing that you're saying the other people are doing? Like, well, I don't like that group, so I'm not comfortable around it. So that's it. That's exactly their argument. Except what you're arguing for is literal degeneracy. What they're arguing for is simply keep your degeneracy. You can have it, just keep it in your own home and keep it out of the schools for my children. Not my children, but parents are saying my children. That's all. That's all.
Make you guys feel
I understand
uncomfortable.
what you're saying because it's a two-sided coin.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like
Well, it's a convenience to be Christian. I'm going to be Christian
you
of
go.
the old covenant and not know what Christianity really means on the new covenant. And I know Christianity because I went to a ministerial school for 3 years. So you want to talk about the Bible, we can talk about it. But LGBT is not even talked about in the new covenant, where Jesus Christ came and washed away my sins. And
Yeah, and that's because y'all made it up. Well, maybe not, but certainly the way it is now.
I'm a Christian.
Pause, because we do have to move on. I want to hear from Mike.
Oh, well, no, I was just going to say that, you know, my wife and I plan to homeschool for a multitude of reasons. Specifically, we don't want the state involved in our child's education.
Before Mike goes on there, Justin Cox says religion has become a space for judgment, which ironically goes against the word of God. Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, you say has become, but it's always been about judgment. That is the basis of what religion is that you live your life and then you go and you get judged by this all-knowing, all-seeing character that makes these arbitrary rules. Doesn't make sense to me.
There are a bunch of subjects we don't even think should be taught to begin with, like earth science. What the hell is that all about? But to point to Aldo's point, one of the reasons why, especially recently, why we decided this was because we went to our local school district's library, and those books absolutely exist. And we were told by
Genderqueer and Just the Tip. Look them up.
The librarian that an 8 to 12-year-old can take those books out without their parents' permission. And these books, they're kind of like comic booky types. Some of them are, but some of them have extremely pornographic descriptions. Some of them have visual aids. Some of them talking about, hey, try a blowjob, see how it makes you feel. Some of them talking about fingering yourself. I'm absolutely not open to having my daughter look at that stuff, let alone even hear about it from other kids. And second of all, with the teachers in the classrooms, I feel like there is a larger subset of teachers who seem to have an agenda. This is just what I see optically. And it's just not something that I'm comfortable with.
And before, where's the data on that?
So
Can I quickly ask Ra a question? You talked about creating a safe space for students with pronouns. Do you recognize that some parents that feel very strongly about these issues, that by these teachers creating these safe spaces for students and introducing all the students to the spectrum of gender ideology creates a dangerous space for that other child, that it's introducing them to an idea that the parents feel strongly about?
That's a great point. That is a fantastic point. If you have parents who are going to be violently against this, then why are you going to introduce a child to that when you don't have any control over what happens when they leave your classroom? That's a great point. Let's see. Just a cog said, a God is the one who's supposed to judge at the end, not us little folks, because we're all perfectly imperfect. I can agree with that. I mean, obviously not the God part, but I can agree that we are all perfectly imperfect, and that is okay.
Do I think creating a safe space for queer and trans kids creates an unsafe place for straight kids? Absolutely not.
That the parents, though, that you recognize that the parents could feel that way, that the introduction of these ideas is not aligning with their values, and it's not okay.
At home. I agree 1,000% with homeschoolings.
I said, me too. So I can't even say that anymore because they don't want you to curse like at all on YouTube.
I worked at LAUSD for 10 years. And
what is LAUSD?
I've seen a lot of shit that goes on in the school district. I absolutely believe that it starts at home. And if you give your kids a good foundation at home, they should be able to have a little bit of a foundation when they go to school and recognize these different things. Like, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't get jiggy with that, but I'm not going to hate and disrespect the person that does. So because there are kids that are committing suicide, there are kids that are coming to school that come to school for safety, for food, not only just to learn about sex ed, but literally because they have no other place to go but to go.
What are you talking about? Yes, children. That's why a lot of schools were open during the lockdowns because of food. How is that connected to this conversation?
Go to school for food in the morning.
What about the kid though who's made to feel out to be like a pariah? Let's say if there's one kid who's like, well, you know, that's maybe not what I believe with the pronouns or with any sort of.
I'm that kid. I don't care about pronouns. Absolutely.
Right, exactly.
You are not that kid if you're queer.
Sure. So now today, I feel like there are kids who are probably going to be pariahed by their teacher. Maybe if they're, you know, if he or she's a bad teacher, I don't know. But that's not necessarily inclusive or maybe a safe space for that one child who, you know, may feel like I don't believe in any of this stuff.
That's a great point too. You know, you're talking about all of these parents who are going to hate their children because they are, you know, in the alphabet mafia. But again, the whole point is that it's way more likely that, okay, we have two situations. We have a teacher and the student that disagree, and we have the parent and the child that disagree. Which person in authority, whether it's the teacher or the parent, is going to have more grace on a balance of probabilities with that child, given the disagreement? It makes sense that a parent disagreeing with a child is going to have a lot more grace, for all you Christians out there, a lot more grace with their child than a teacher who's trying to shove an agenda down everybody's throat, and you're the one child who's saying, I don't believe that. That's a great point. Never heard that before.
It's not just about making the kids in the school feel safe. It's about educating the people that don't know how to treat other people outside of the school, so they can take that with them and respect people that are not inside the school.
All right, new prompt,
Sometimes
guys.
a child needs a spanking.
Oh, I got some strong feelings on this one, so we'll do a poll. Sometimes a child needs a spanking. Yeah, I'll just do it like that. So that is the prompt. Sometimes a child needs spanking. Yes or no? Of course the conservative parents.
This is interesting because, let me get close. I feel that every kid needs a spanking, though my wife and I have decided that we're not going to spank our kids. If that makes any sense. Like, I grew up being spanked, and I turned out all right for it. But
what did I was just saying this earlier about the girl who doesn't have a mom. I was making this exact argument. Well, I turned out fine. Now, granted, give him you know, credit where credit is due, and he said he's not going to hit his children. But he said the exact same thing. Well, I turned out fine. I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did, bro. But how much better would you have turned out if your parents didn't abuse you.
I do think that spanking can be, or physical. What's the word? Physical
Correction.
discipline or physical correction can be useful, but
Corporal punishment.
yeah, not for mine.
The thing is, like, you can take this question both ways. There are cases where you should not spank a child, but I think about behaviors that have been ingrained, that have been enabled for a long time, that are terrible, and they should stop. I used to work at a tech summer camp, and there's this little girl who's just a demon. She would like go up to the Indian kids, say, "You're ugly, you're brown, you smell." Like, these are things that are enabled. A kid isn't born and has this hate towards Indian people. You know what I mean? So I think a case like that, and then when the mom came, she was just like, "Honey, you can't continue doing that. It's been enabled." So I think there are cases where the only way to get to the kid's head is by showing like extreme like concern, and like for some parents, that can come through spanking, but I don't think it should be used for like mild cases like you got to be on a test or something like that.
Right.
So I generally agree with her, and as well as Chester, saying the operative word being needs being is required. So again, disagree purely based on the sensationalist wording. So I would agree in the sense that there is better ways to deal with anything, and that there's not ever a situation where that is the only thing where it is required. But I think so yeah, I no, it is right there. I'm with you 100%, Chester. Hey, we got Darshawn McAway in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome, brother. Welcome. What does Darshawn say? Just a salute. Welcome to the party, brother. Welcome. We got another shout out for you. Give me 1 sec here. Glad to have you at the party. We are just watching the new Jubilee Middle Ground with conservative parents, queer parents, and Gen Z kids.
Well, and what do? We mirror our parents' behavior. So because I grew up with, my mom spanked me and my dad rarely did, but if he ever got to the point of a spanking, it happened. But I think that my first inclination when my daughter would have a tantrum would just almost kind of be like to either grab her really hard or to just think about, this kid needs a spanking. And I used to tell my wife, I used to be like, just let me do it. Let me see what happens. But it just kind of restrained ourselves. And we just said, we decided at first, and it may seem like a very like unconservative thing to say, but like, yeah, we came to the decision we're not going to do that.
So for me,
I'm definitely with that. I'm definitely with that. There's no reason to, at the end of the day, if your child can understand the reasoning, hey man, when you're right, you're right. If your child is old enough to understand why they are being spanked, well, then you can just explain it to them. And if they're not old enough, then spanking them is not going to do anything because they don't understand what's going on. Hi, Morty. No new super chat. Sorry, bud. A great analogy from my dog training is the old adage of when you're trying to house train a dog and they have an accident and they you put their nose in and say no bad. But of course that doesn't work because a dog only has an attention span of about 1.3 seconds. So unless you catch them in the act of pissing or pooping on the floor, then the dog has no idea what you're doing or what you're like, why you're angry. And so all that's going to happen is that the dog's going to learn, oh, okay, pooping is bad. And so then you take them outside and you're like, come on, go. And the dog's like, come on, I got to take a crap, but you're right here. You run inside, you go hide in the corner. And then that's how you get little presents all over the house. Same thing works for children. I mean, they might not crap all over your house, but I mean, they might. But they are definitely not going to have the same respect for your boundaries, and they certainly won't understand or feel the same amount of love.
Being African American, I feel like our forms of discipline are more.
Facts, Sean. Facts. That is, I think, without being a parent, I think this is the problem that leads parents to feeling like they do have to use corporal punishment. Is that they get, their kid's just a kid, and then they're 2 or 3 years old, or let's say they're 2 or 3 years old, and instead of being able to communicate at that level, violence. And so then it just continues. Great point. Anything else we got here? You guys talking to each other? No. So David says, I'm not saying like you spilled the milk, so it's ass whooping time. But if you're out here being bad as ish, knowing damn well you shouldn't be doing something, a spank isn't the worst thing to happen. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I just think that there are better ways to deal with it. And as Darshan said, if you are at the place where you feel like you have to hit your child, you probably messed up before. Again, not a parent, so I can only say I can only guess. But certainly, getting hit as a child, I would have much preferred a conversation, and I would have respected my parents a lot more for that conversation, and I would have respected their boundaries a lot more if they had treated me that way.
More.
And now that they do, well, at least now that my dad does, I have a lot more respect for his thoughts, his feelings, and so on and so forth.
Brutal in some senses.
Is that what I'm saying?
And we're not going to do that.
So for me, you know, being African American, I feel like our forms of discipline are more brutal in some senses because they're not really given with love. You know, I remember getting whoopings just for laughing too early in the morning on a Saturday watching cartoons.
Another great point here. Drill instructors not even allowed to hit their soldiers. Brilliant point.
You know, so because they're trying to sleep. So I think that like when I spank my daughter, I always make sure she understands why she's getting the spanking. So it's not, you know, she touched something and then I, you know, get her. It's, hey, you know, you shouldn't climb that because you can fall and really hurt yourself. And then I leave the room and come back in and she's doing it. It's like, okay, you know, so the term that I've always used with her when I've given her spankings is, do you need understanding? And she's like, Daddy, I don't want understanding. Like, I don't want any understanding. But after I've spanked her, I'll give her a minute and then I'll come back in the room and say, all right, let's have a conversation and sit down. Like, why did I spank you? Because Daddy, I was climbing the ladder. What could have happened? I could have really fallen and hurt myself. So what do we not do? Climb the ladder if you're not there. It's done.
Right. This goes back to the conversation we were having about expectations and trying to meet those expectations. As a parent, if you set an expectation for your child that has to do with their safety and it's not met and you don't correct them, then that's actually not loving. Then that's actually not showing your child that there are consequences to the actions.
That's a great point. And I think that even if you have, you know, made some errors, you know, nobody's perfect. There's no handbook for parenting. And so if you get to the point where now your child doesn't respect you and you find yourself feeling that you do have to hit them, then I think going about it the way that, sorry, I forgot his name, but the way that he was just talking about, at least give them the understanding. And if you try to explain it to them first and they don't listen, now kids are going to do that. But to the extent that this is happening all the time, then again, that's bad parenting. And again, I'm not a parent, so I can't speak to that directly, but that's just my opinion. David said, I'm only for spanking when you get caught in the midst of being a bad little mofo, not wait till we get home either. Fair enough. Yep. Not fun. Liquid Mineral Factory said, I think there is good data that using violence as a disciplinary action is not a good approach. You are correct. And David wants to clear up, I'm not advocating closed fists to a young child, but a swat on the tush is not the worst thing to ever happen. I agree with that. And, you know, again, to Chester's point about these being a little bit more vague and them doing that purposely, I think this is kind of, you know, that middle ground. And I know myself, and I don't see, knowing what I do know about raising a child, which is very little, but knowing what I do know, I can't see myself being a parent and not, in my mind, getting exasperated enough to want to use corporal punishment. But I would do anything to avoid it.
And that'll lead them to doing the same behavior over and over again. And I'll also say that if you are constantly having to spank and use this extreme measure, then you're probably doing something else wrong that needs to be
Brasse! Got him.
Corrected first. So it does have to be used sparingly and not that extreme.
You're exactly right. I grew up in a Latin household. I'm Puerto Rican. And we got the switch, we got the belt, we got the hand, we got the fist, we got all of
You
it.
get the backhand? The backhand with
We
the
got
rings
the, we
is the
got
worst.
the wooden spoon, we got all of it. And it was terrifying at times, honestly. And sometimes I didn't feel it was justified. Sometimes it was justified, but
That's a good point too, because we were just talking about when is it justified and not justified, and you're obviously not going to ever feel like it's justified. You know, maybe when you're a little bit older and you're in that like 10, 11 where you really know you're doing something wrong, but especially younger kids, the terror of like we forget how helpless it is to be a child. There's no fighting back. There's there's nobody you can call. There's nobody you can, that's your parents. So they do it, and it is what it is. And so the terror aspect is certainly something that has stuck with me for a long time. And you know, I mean, I got beat, but not that bad. I mean, compared to other people. And it still stuck with me. So I can only imagine other people. Hey, we got Ezekiel in the building. What is good? What is good? So beware, you can easily lose your child just by spanking them. Right, Ma? Seabass, I do agree with the brother and sister one. I just can't put that one up. Nick says, I agree. Hitting didn't work with me. My mom calmly told me why she didn't want me to do certain things, and I always understood why and tried to do better. But some people only respond to a smack. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Because I feel, again, coming from my own perspective, not having children and having been a relatively good kid, you know, before I was not a good kid, by the time I was in high school, I was kind of getting into trouble and stuff. And then you guys know I was a drug addict in my 20s. But I'm sorry, Bubs, that you gotta wait for a super chat. The fact is, I was a good kid, and most of the times that I got hit or anything, it was for stupid little things like I forgot to do chores, or I got a B or a C on my test, or my report card wasn't good. It's not like I was out here, you know, running the streets or doing drugs or anything like that until later. So maybe I turned out fine, but could have turned out a lot better. Jessica Cox says, like I said earlier, most people don't know the difference between a beating out of emotion and a spanking as a consequence. That is very true. If you are going to hit your child, you should never be angry when you do it. David agrees. David got the spoon. Oof, oof, oof. How did God whip you?
I didn't want to create an environment for my child where it was severe punishment that felt like they were so terrified of me that they weren't going to be able to be somewhat free, right? The punishment needs to fit the crime. If you look at the animal kingdom, I'll talk about that again, but they physically correct their young ones when there's danger, when they're out of line, and they teach.
I want to stop this here. This is why dogmatic thinking is so dangerous. Seabass says, I did a bad thing as a kid, but God whipped me good. Then he says, God killed his wife and put his son in the hospital. For anybody to feel as if they deserve this is criminal. It's criminal. I mean, far be it for me to try to convince you otherwise. And I completely understand the Catholic or the Christian guilt. I don't know if you're a Catholic, but the Christian guilt that comes with a God like Yahweh. But this breaks my heart, dude. This breaks my heart that you would actually genuinely believe that you deserve this. I can't think of anything in the world that anybody could do that would make this justified. Oh, for being a bit, never mind. Totally deserved. Totally deserved. This is sad. And Chester, I don't think that. I mean, I agree with you, but something tells me he's. I don't know. Well, let's see. We're doing superlatives. Best. He might win best troll if that's the case, because I stopped the whole show for it. That is that's a gut punch to really feel like you deserve for your wife to die and your son to be in the hospital. Not just for you to experience that, but that your wife deserved that and that your son deserved that. If you believe that,
teach them, because verbalizing doesn't always work. And I think it should just be minor corrections. I don't think we should get into the realm of abuse, obviously. And also, I feel like these days you can't even touch your child without somebody wanting to call CPS on you. When I was growing up, there was no laws. You could just beat the tarnation out of your child, apparently. But now, you have to be very careful legally. But from a biological standpoint, I think it should just be very slight, and the punishment should fit the crime.
I think that's a fair place to put that. If you're going to use any type of physical correction, it has to be in context. It has to be warranted. And I mean, she said it right.
The first thing that
Okay, so we got the disagreeers coming in, and I don't know if you guys saw, but we had 10 votes on the poll for this prompt. Again, it being sometimes a child needs a spanking, and we went 50-50. Very, very interesting. So let's see what the disagreeers say.
bugs me about this conversation that it always seems to be, oh, yeah, I got the smacking, and it always ends up being a laughter that follows stories of people getting spanked.
You either laugh or you cry.
I was spanked. I had my mouth washed out with soap. I had my pants literally pulled down around my ankles and spanked in front of my friends. As a child, first of all, that embarrassment, it was hard to come back from.
Yep.
Very, very hard. Not only that, but my relationship with my father completely suffered.
Same thing with me and my mom. Same thing with me and my mom. I mean, I was able to. I'm at the place where I've forgiven her. And so that's not why we don't have a relationship. But my dad was also, let's say angry when he was a little bit younger. And I mean, as much as I was a good kid in the sense that I wasn't running the streets, I could be, a little brat and get annoying and whatever. But was it worth it? You tell me, Mom and Dad.
Because of it. I resented him. I hated him. I feared him. And it was a long, I'm still trying to repair it from this day. And I think that as a parent, now that I'm in that position and my child acts up, yeah, of course, we have to discipline them. But sending them to timeout, which they hate and despise, and then having that conversation of why did you go to timeout, and they understand and they repeat what they're not supposed to do, it works and they don't do it again. And I think we can get the point across and discipline our children without abuse, without hitting, without spanking, because that is a lasting impression on a child.
I think with
that is a great argument, comprehensive as to why you need to find a better way. You need to find a better way. Thank you, David. Violence is just in every other context wrong, except for self-defense. But when we're talking, I mean, think about how upset people get when we talk about a man hitting a woman. I mean, not some of you guys, I know, but in general, society is very averse to that. But as Eric just said, we talk about our parents who are grown adults hitting defenseless children, and we all laugh about it. Make that make sense.
The lasting impression, right? The physical pain is temporary. The mental pain is lifelong, forever. And I don't think that a child and now adults should have to live with that trauma for the rest of our lives just because our parents wanted to correct us in that one moment.
Honestly, I don't think spankings are really effective. spare the rod, spoil the child. I come from parents that we had a huge leather belt, and I would, now that I think about it, we'd always get told, oh, don't make me get the leather belt. And Dad did get the leather belt, but I never got hit with that belt. And it was more to invoke that fear, because I could never imagine my parents honestly hitting me. And I didn't have to get hit to mind or to respect them. But the moment that my parents were to hit me, I would lose respect for them, because I wouldn't expect, I don't expect my parents to have to hit me.
And that's to go back to the sorry, David. To go back to the dog training stuff. This is what's going to shit. I forgot what I was going to say, but give me 1 second.
I would lose respect for them, because I could never imagine my parents hit with that belt. And
So, but you're saying she didn't actually need to get hit with the belt. It's just the warning and the idea that would happen. Bring it back to the dog training. When you have a dog who is, like jumping and nipping and for attention, barking at you and whatever, most people want to yell, "Oh, shut up, stop, get down," blah, 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 push them off and whatever. That doesn't help. What does help is 1 or 2 times you give them the warning. Do you want to go in timeout? And then you go and put them, and they got to be by themselves. They don't like being by themselves, especially the young puppies. And the fact is that once they are in there, once or twice, just saying, "Do you want to go in timeout?" is usually enough. I agree with you there. Goddamn Nightbot. If anybody knows how to help me get rid of that or make it work the way it's supposed to, please let me know. Liquid says, usually when a parent hits their kid, it's because they lost their temper, not because the kid needed to be corrected. Yup.
And I didn't have to get hit to mind or to respect them. But the moment that my parents were to hit me, I would lose respect for them, because I wouldn't expect, I don't expect my parents to have to hit me. I don't think that's what parents should have to do. If you can't use your words to articulate to your children to respect you, we have a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Yup.
First time I ever did
Preach.
get physically spanked was by my grandpa's wife. I lived with her and blah, blah, blah. And she smacked me and I smacked her back. Like I wasn't going to take that. I don't take that kind of disrespect. And like, I don't touch my kids like that. I don't feel like my little 4-year-old daughter, why does she need to be spanked? She's 4. My 6-year-old, he's still learning the world around him. He doesn't need that. That's
Exactly.
abusive to me.
Yep.
No offense, but like I just see it as abuse. Spanking absolutely was something I couldn't imagine even speaking of on camera for millions of people to see. And I don't see the point of abuse in children as little as 6, 4. That's very young.
So I mean, she is obfuscating the prompt. It wasn't about sometimes a child. It wasn't sometimes a child needs to be abused. It was sometimes a child needs to be spanked. And there was a good conversation about the difference between taking it that far. So she's kind of obfuscating there, but I definitely feel where she's coming from.
And very imprinting on children that are going to grow up and think that
We got 2 more prompts, guys.
Discipline, and that's how you get people to hear what you're saying.
It leaves mental scars when it's used in the wrong scenario. So we were talking about that earlier. If you're spanking your kid every single day, you should change your parenting, but you only use it when it's a terrible behavior that needs to stop. Like when I was little, okay, I used to shoplift, okay? I would get away with it. I thought you could just take a candy bar and then leave. But after like my parents found these like chocolate bars that they weren't paying for, they spanked me, and as they should, because if they hadn't spanked me, they just said, "Honey, don't do this." I would have kept doing it.
If they just said, "Don't do that shit," you might have just stopped or took something away.
See, again, this is the same argument as my parents hit me, but I'm fine. This is the same argument as I don't have a mom, but I'm fine. They needed to hit me. How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that as a child, there's not a collection of words in a particular order that is going to help you understand that? If you already understood that it was wrong, then the only thing you didn't understand was why you still went through with it, or why it was worth it for you to do something that was wrong. No, I don't believe in God either. Why would I do that? Just because, yes, sometimes the spanking is the better consequence compared to them hurting themselves because they aren't thinking. That's fair. Definitely fair.
Away from you, or use different effective ways.
The thing
Like
is,
taking things away from my son, like me smacking my son's 14 years old, who's bigger than me, stronger than me emasculizing my son and smacking him as a woman.
Well, again, that's why before he was bigger than you, the parenting needs to be done.
And telling him he's doing something wrong, that's wild. That's not gonna be effective at all. It's, no, hey, let's talk about this. You're gonna get the Xbox taken away. I'm not gonna take you to this AAU practice that we're spending $400 on. We're gonna do something that's gonna be really effective that you actually are going to remember. Because hitting, after a while, that shit don't mean nothing. All right, keep on hitting.
Facts. After a certain time, after a certain number of spankings or whatever, you're like, all right, this is what we're doing. Same thing as when you're a drug addict and you run out of drugs. You're like, all right, well, this is going to suck for another, until I get more. It doesn't suck any less, but you just learn to live with it. Like, this is part of life. Going back to the dog training. When a dog pulls on a leash, it's because they don't understand that they're not supposed to pull. They're just excited at, oh, there's this smell and that sound and this sight and all that. And you expect, because you've seen every movie that has a dog walking nicely, and you see all your neighbors walking their dog nicely, that it's the dog's fault. But you never taught them how to walk on a leash. And now you're getting mad that they don't know how to walk on a leash. It's the same thing with children. If they're 14 years old and you feel like you need to hit them, well, you already fucked up. Oh, shit, I said the F word.
Hitting me. Keep on hitting me.
That's my middle brother.
I agree with that.
Bro, are you ready, Nick? Are you ready?
Being, at 15, being 6'7".
No freedoms. What is this supposed to do?
You know what I mean? So, my
But
mom
when you're
was
12.
like, my mom was like your height, so I think to kind of go off what you were saying, the laughter part, we're not laughing because of the spanking.
We're laughing to hide the trauma.
It's more so, and I hope this makes sense. It's laughing because of the experience of love and the discipline that I experienced with my daughter, and the fact that she now understands, and I know that she won't make that same mistake again.
How do you know she won't make that same mistake again? You said that you explained to her why she shouldn't do it in the first place, and she still did it. And so now all you've done is up the ante. And as we just talked about, that often turns to just getting used to it. And now, just like the drug, I'm just making connections all over the place. Just like a drug tolerance, you take one the first time and you're blasted. Then, the next time, take one, it's pretty good. Take another one. There we go. By the time you're up to 10, you can take 15. And don't do ish.
Now, to what you were saying, after spanking her, I don't even remember last time I've spanked my daughter, because now, even with my 2-year-old, when they're acting up or doing something or screaming or going crazy, and I'm like, hey guys, stop, and they're still going, I'll get the belt and I'll just jingle, okay, Dad, we're sitting down. And I'm like, oh, so you guys are good? Yeah, Dad, we're good. It's like, I don't have to.
It's a response to stimuli. They're absolutely like, oh shit, we don't want to get hit.
We don't want to get hit, but
out.
Also it's a respect thing. Like, that's my father. He's in there, trying to work on.
Rationalization. They are scared of violence. They are scared of violence. If they are not listening to your words, and only violence will stop them, they are not respecting or afraid of you. They are respecting or are afraid of the violence.
On the computer or something, we are screaming too loud.
It's the job of the parent to make sure the child can come to them for anything and everything and overall love. Why would you teach a child that person would hit them? That's it.
The sexuality of parents influences their kids' sexuality.
All right. So let me get it up there. The sexuality of parents. So the parent's sexuality influences their kid's sexuality. Agree or disagree? Let's see.
Now, if we're talking about sexuality as in just, being openly like.
I did set it up. It doesn't work. I set up all the numbers and the things. I could type them all. It doesn't work. All it does is yell at you guys. I don't know why.
Like, I hope I'm wording this the right way, promiscuous, or your behaviors. I think it does. A lot of things that I do, my kids do. A lot of things that my wife do, you know, they follow her. So I think if I was behaving in a certain way and, you know, treating my wife a certain way in front of my daughters and my son, you know, I think it would affect the way that they treat themselves and the way they treat others. And would look at sex as more as an object or just something to do more than a intimate thing that you have with one person that, you know, creates a real bond and a friendship.
The thing about childhood is that
I completely agree there.
every kid has a normal one because there's no frame of reference. Everything's relative.
That's an interesting point. I want to see where you're going with that, but that's an interesting point.
You know, creates a real bond and a friendship.
The thing about childhood is that every kid has a normal one because there's no frame of reference. Everything's relative. So whatever you put into that child's life becomes their normal. Children that are from same-sex households, they have a higher chance of identifying as LGBTQ. And you could claim that this is because they're more accepting and more receptive to that. But I would say,
well, if you're going to say that, then you're inherently saying that by virtue of having same-sex parents, you are inherently less accepting. I'm not. That's your claim, dude, who's talking. So maybe you don't want to die on that hill.
Say that I would point to the generations, that each generation as they got older, the amount of people, the percentage of people that identify as LGBTQ doubles each generation. And some of that can be because of acceptance of society. But
some of it, yeah, maybe like 0.5%, but most of it is the social contagion. Oh, my friends are doing it and they got all these likes, they got so much clout. So I want to do it too.
I do not believe that it is pure acceptance. There is influence that's happening on our social media, that's happening in media or in the world, but it starts at home. And there is influence in the home that when you see this as normal, it will of course influence your sexuality and how you view these things.
I just want to say quickly that sexuality in the home should be a good role model for your children, should be constructive, it should be loving and not toxic. If a child sees sexuality and sees it as toxic, they may just choose to go the other way.
I mean, I guess that's true, but I mean, this is a weird prompt because I guess it's going to get more interesting as the disagreeers come in.
A lot of gay people have straight parents. A lot of gay parents produce straight kids. So, debunked.
Oops! That's not what debunked means. Unless you have the statistics there. Now we're talking about the statistics. Now you're talking about not just on generalities. You're talking about a specific number. You're making a specific claim. So just because that happens doesn't mean that the sexuality of parents influencing their kids' sexuality is debunked. Sorry, honey.
You cannot. If you're straight, that doesn't mean your child is straight.
That's not the prompt. Influence is not the same thing as going to be the same as.
You're gay, that doesn't mean your child is gay.
Not the prompt.
I want to stand firm on the fact that sexuality is biological. It's not something you can choose. And if it's something you want to explore, that's different from choosing. Exploring is, oh, maybe I'll go see what it's like being with a woman. Oh, that didn't feel right. Because it's biological.
Yeah, so 2 points, one of which is something that you had said about them only knowing that there's 2 gay parents. And so they relate to that more. In my life, like, yes, there is 2 gay parents, but
I don't like how they keep saying that in my life, there are 2. Are you saying you and your partner are the 2 parents, or you and your partner are parents, but you also had same-sex parents? This stuff is confusing, and it's frustrating that those who are in the know, in the weeds, just act like you're a bigot if you don't understand it.
We also are surrounded by a lot of straight parents and a lot of straight couples, and their friends come over to play, and they have a mom and a dad, and they come over. So them being only seeing this one thing and then thinking, oh, maybe I'm gay because that's the only thing I know. I don't believe in that.
I don't think that. I just think, what is normal to them? Is it normal for them to have 2 dads? Of course, right? Having a mom and a dad, is it normal?
But it's also normal to see other kids with their mom and dad too. I mean, they see it all the time. And then my second
Right. And to take even though they see that most of like the kids in their class are going to have a mother and a father, the experience of being the one child who has the same-sex parents and seeing that you're different than everybody else is normal. It is normal for you to have a characteristic or a way of life or something that is different than everybody you know. This is not a special case. This is just another example.
other was just the fact of a choice. I mean, you talked about it. It's definitely not a choice. If I had to choose way back when I was 15, 14, thinking, oh gosh, I'm gay, I would not choose to have society constantly looking at me.
Yeah, did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that?
Gay. I had to choose way back when I was 15,
I had to choose.
14, thinking, oh gosh, I'm gay. I would not choose to have society constantly looking at me, judging me when I'm out to dinner with my two girls and people come up and go, you're doing such a good job. You don't do that to straight parents who are out with their kids. Like, why come up to me?
Yeah, you do.
So I would not have.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I'm not even in these spaces where, you know, I'm around children and their parents, but I hear all the time, but you know, people talking about being good parents, same sex or not. Like, this is just more victimization. Like, well, how come I get asked these questions? Did you even ask anybody if they get asked that question, or did you just assume?
Have chosen to be gay if I had the choice. I am gay. I am happy. My life is amazing, and I wouldn't want it any other way. But back then, when I was figuring things out, I wouldn't have chosen it.
I said they do
People tell me that all
compliment
day.
straight parents
Especially
too.
being a black father, I get it all day
lot.
long.
On the other side of things, I want to talk about this notion of what is normal influences what you are. I went to an all-boys school. I'll say this a million times. I went to an all-boys school until I was 15. I did not know what a girl was until I was 15. My parents are heterosexual. They're pretty conservative. They are Christian. Nothing in my environment was saying, you need to be a girl. You are queer. You like are lesbian, right?
Wait, so again, why is this assumed that all of us are not going to be confused? She went to an all boys school and didn't know what a girl was? First of all, how did you get into an all boys school unless you're trans, which was not presented to us? And how did you go until the age of 15 and not know that there was two sexes? Did you, unless you didn't have a mother and father in the home, and your normal was just your own little world?
That was just always within me, and nothing in my environment pushed me to do that. I think that is just one very clear example that your environment does not make you have a particular sexuality or gender. That is just within you.
The way I was parented made me feel safe and seen.
Ooh, okay. I want to ask you guys this. So I'm just gonna say felt safe and seen. You know what the thing is. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm with you, David. I'm with you. Like, what are you talking about? How do you not know what a girl is when you are a girl? Unless you're a trans girl, in which case, how do you know what a girl is?
My parents already knew that they were getting into parenting miles behind other people because the world tells them they're going to be this kind of parent simply because they're gay. From what they've told me before I was born, before my brother was born, it was doing all kinds of research on what works for kids, how to raise a girl, what girl puberty is like, all of these things. They made sure that they were super educated so that the only reason the world could tell them they were a bad parent is because they were gay. And that means nothing. That comes down to your own opinion. And so I grew up feeling so safe, so supported. I came to my parents with any question and they always had the answer. And I always knew I could grow up being whatever I wanted to be. And whether that was sexuality, whether that was career-wise, Honestly, growing up with two dads was really beneficial as a woman because there was nothing impeding on, or there were no boundaries set on what a woman should be or what a woman should act like.
I would probably say you're better off. I don't know. Are you better off if you're going to have a two or a same sex parents? You think you're better off with two women or with two men? Two women or two men? Let me know in the chat because I want this. How many votes do we have on this? We still only got 4 votes. So hit the vote in the poll, and then which is better? If you have to have a same-sex couple, two men or two women. No Freedoms obviously says two men. What about the rest of you guys?
It was, no, you go out and your brain is your biggest asset and it's the most beautiful thing about you. Go out and do whatever you want. Women can do whatever men can do. And it was.
So all of the things that your parents told you were wrong, and that is why now that you're sitting on this panel and a man is actually telling you the truth, it brings you to tears. Learning that all of that is wrong has obviously cut you deep.
It was really great, actually, to not have.
Hey, we got Mansa in the building. What is good? What is good? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, yeah, this is the Jubilee Middle Ground. They're doing a 3-way. They have queer parents. Parents, like queer parents, as in parents that are queer. They have conservative parents, and they also have Gen Z kids. So those are the 3 people here. And then we've got the poll going, but I'm also asking if you have to grow up in a household with 2 same-sex parents, is it better for 2 women or 2 men? All else being equal. Michael also, hey, welcome to the party, Mike. Mike says 2 men. Everybody seems to be in a Seabass says 2 women because apparently men will do that. Why? Maybe God said.
Have a woman in the household that maybe would have derailed that in some way.
I half agree. I would say I felt safe. I did not particularly feel seen. My parents don't know what being trans is. They don't really understand what being gay was. When I came out to them, they were like,
okay, so she is trans. Maybe mention that.
We don't really know what this is, but we love you. And that's what made me feel safe. Even if they don't particularly see me, they came to see me. And at the end of the day, if they say, I love you and you are welcome here, that's what matters. So for me to be met with love from conservative values was pretty shocking.
Why? Why is it pretty shocking? Because you assume that because you have ideas and when other people don't agree with those, you hate those people. You assume that when you have when those people have different ideas that come back on you, that they're going to hate you. That's how y'all operate, not us.
Because I just have so much experience of observing media where Christians are always paired with anti-LGBT rhetoric.
What do I keep telling you guys? Keep putting religious crap in your politics, and this is what happens.
And conservatism is not compatible with this. But in my
conservatism is absolutely compatible with it. Christianity, however,
my own personal life, I've seen the two be completely compatible. You can be conservative and you can be queer. You can be Christian and you can support LGBT people. And that's something I didn't really think was possible, but my parents proved me wrong in that way.
I mean, I would say that they're bad Christians, but I'm glad that they're bad Christians. I'm glad that we have more bad Christians than we have actual Christians because the Bible is pretty violent and horrible.
I feel like I grew up with the best parents in the world.
Aww.
They did everything that they could to make me the best person I am today.
Aww.
And there were a lot of times growing up that we were going through really difficult times, but they shielded us from that. There were times that the lights turned off or the heat turned off. And as kids, we don't know what's going on. We just ask, hey, what's going on? Oh, your mom forgot to pay the bill. And all these things were hidden from us until we were way older and we look back at those things and we realize, no, that she didn't forget to pay the bill, or we left the tags on not because they wanted us to choose a different shirt later on. It was because there was serious stuff going on.
So this is very much analogous to the types of issues that the LGBT people deal with. It's not normal, quote unquote, it's not normal for the lights to just go out. It's not normal for you not to know where your next meal is coming from, even though it may be decently not decently is a bad word, but you know what I mean, relatively frequent. It's not normal, but that doesn't mean that now you are a completely different person. It's just some of the circumstances of your life were not ideal, and now you got to grow up and deal with it. So if you like to wear dresses when you were a young boy, that doesn't mean that you're a different person. It just means, okay, you like different things that aren't normal. So maybe it's not a perfect analogy. Same kind of thing that we've been talking about.
In my family, but they shielded us from that so that we could be kids. And
there you go. That's the tie-in. Sheltering your children so that they can be children, not forcing these adult themes down their throat.
My father, you know, he took me out hunting, took me to my sports, taught me what it was like and how to be a man, how to be a good man, how to treat women. And conversely, my mom taught me how to nurture women and the things that a mother teaches a young son. And I feel like I had the best parents, the best experience, and I can't think of something better.
So Jessica Cogg says there are pros and cons to both. Neither gender is superior. We're meant to balance each other, not be at odds. Completely agree with you there. Completely agree. And it's too easy for us to look at the differences and privileges that we each get and pit those against each other. And it's just not helpful to anybody. Hans says, highly educated women are okay with it, or normal women as well? With what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Can't think of anything better.
My dad's probably one of the most soft-spoken individuals I've ever met in my entire life, but I remember instances of feeling safe because I would see him literally snap to dad protection mode when it came to, you know, anyone trying to harm us or my mother or anything like that. And as far as being...
Listen to that, how that was framed. Snap into dad and protection mode, where something could go down, but it's never aimed at him or his mother. That is what a real man is.
Of feeling safe because I would see him literally snap to dad protection mode when it came to, you know, anyone trying to harm us or my mother or anything like that. And as far as being seen, my parents, they like all of our parents, they had the expectations we talked about us being successful in our career. But I had so many wants and desires from being a teenager, like wanting to be, I want to be a magician. I want to be a skateboarder. Who was buying me magician kits? Who was buying me skateboards? Like, I had the most supportive, and I guess you can use the word seeing parents that you could ever ask for. And, you know, I owe them everything that I am today. The person that I am today is because of them.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you provide an environment for a child to grow properly. They grow properly. I got anything here? Mon says, why is it that people believe in the Holy Bible, yet the Iliad and Odyssey are unbelievable? None that's ever come true or hasn't been predicted in the Old Testament. David says, victimizing your family is disgusting behavior and not at all what people should look to as a real man. You are right, Lutch. I love being right. I'm always right. You know it. No, I'm just yeah, right.
My parents didn't agree with my lifestyle. I came out super, super early. I came out like around 12. I mean, my parents are pastors, but my mom always saw me. And when I asked to dress like a boy in like 5th grade, my dad was super resistant because he kind of knew, because you know when your kids are gay early on, you just know. And I think inherently they knew I was going to be gay, and my dad was not getting jiggy with it. And my mom was like, let her be her. Let her be her. She'll figure it out. And I lost my dad about 3 months ago. Parents were married 50 years, same household, the best people. I'll give you a run for your money because my parents were pretty great too. In this last birthday.
All right, you know what? I don't really care about, you know, them. I want to see the disagreeers come in. Okay.
You know, he was going to start by saying my dad is not
so these are the disagreeers to, so let's see what we got. Another, 6 votes, but 50-50 felt safe and seen. Good for you guys. Good for you guys. So we have the next prompt is the way I was parented. Or I mean, the disagreeers are coming in for the way I was parented made me feel safe and seen.
Well, my dad is super supportive. You know, he was invited to my wedding. He walked me down my aisle, you know, and my mom wasn't invited. My mom didn't come to my wedding. My mom didn't get to do, you know, the normal bridal stuff because she did not agree with my lifestyle. But this is by far the happiest that I've ever been, the most headstrong that I have been. And if she
Just so you could just block him or not talk to him and just watch.
can't support that, then I don't want her in my life. And a lot of my family and friends have been kind of like, finally, you finally cut her out. And so, you know, it hurts sometimes, but like also I'm protecting my kids from that exposure.
That's a harsh reality for so many people. And this goes back to the one of the early prompts or something that was brought up earlier about should you be forced to hug your uncle? Go give your uncle a hug. And the level of just I'm trying not to curse. The level of screwed upness that can happen just within a family is so wide, and the range of things that can happen. This is again coming back to the idea why we need to create the best possible environment starting out, because even still, things are not going to be great. Things are not going to be, well, things might be bigger. Things are not going to be perfect. So the further along you can start, the better position you can start in, the better position you're going to end up in. I don't know how to make it any simpler than that.
That hatred, that acceptance that she doesn't have for me, my kids don't need that. It's 2022. My kids are the next generation. I want them to know nothing but acceptance, loving, caring people. That's it.
I mean, rationality and logic would be nice too, but I get what you're saying.
Growing up, I think it was kind of the same way. They didn't tell me a lot in order to protect what I would think about situations. And my dad and I, I've kind of talked about that a little bit, but we didn't have a good relationship just because we did not connect on any kind of level. But my mom and I really, really connected, and I felt safe with her up until I came out to her, and it was such a bummer moment because we had such a strong relationship, and I felt her just pull away from me when that happened, and it hurt me. And we didn't talk for a little while, and she said she supported me, but her words were not matching with her actions.
I know that all too well, and I can give credit to let's just say my family members who want to be supportive and don't know how. I can understand that. But the effort is really what matters. And if people are not willing to show effort, to show that they care about you, that they love you, that you matter to them, especially family members, because other people, you can just, you can cut them off easy. When it comes to family members, you have to, especially as you get older, you have to be able to recognize when it's time to just, hey, this is not a good relationship. I don't need this in my life. And I could do way better without it. Let's see what we got here. Oh, Dan is leaving. Thank you so much. Wait, Dan, before you, if you're still here, send me a message somewhere. You won a shirt, unless somebody gives a bigger super chat. Then you won a shirt. Where can I find you? Just find me on Twitter or Instagram. The thing is in there. And we'll get your information and all of that. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sponsoring the stream. Dan is out of here. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you very much. Yeah, see you at the watch party. Oh wait, it's a pay-per-view, so I decided I'm not paying $80. I'm not paying $80. So I'll pop in, but I'm not gonna be there for the Pay-per-views. There we go.
And especially the past couple years with what's been going on in the world and politics and all of that, it seems like we're even getting further and further apart. And it breaks my heart and it's sad. And, I want to go back to when I was 10 and rekindle that relationship. And now that I have a family and kids and
bro, that cut deep. I always dreamt of having a family that was like the families that I saw my friends have, where they had, like simple things like, being able to make jokes with your mom, sitting around at dinner and it not being an awkward situation. I never experienced that. And him talking about like, now that I have my family, I'm doing things different. That's always what I wanted to do. Then I got red pill and then I realized, it's not that simple. But man, I wish it was that simple. Let's see, we got anything from you guys?
My family is just so important to me that if she doesn't want to be on board and if she doesn't believe in the beliefs that I have, like I'm not going to go out of my way to try to convince you if you're already set in your ways. And it's sad, but it's something that has to happen.
Yeah. Brittany, I see you, girl. Yeah, like I said before, I didn't have a safe relationship with my mom or my dad. So I did seek some good modeling. I saw some good modeling with my friends and their families. And actually, the first time I ever saw somebody say "I love you" was at a friend's house in like 6th or 7th grade, and I saw her mom say "I love you," and I thought, what?
This is literally exactly what I was just talking about.
They say "I love you," and then she would sit on her mom's lap, and they would hold hands, and I thought, oh my God,
weird, huh?
what are they doing? I thought it was so bizarre. Okay, I have the opposite relationship with my daughter. Very loving, very open, very tender. But honestly, and the relationship I told you is mended with my parents. But honestly, they're still broken. Everybody's still broken. We're all broken. What mended me the most was, I'll say it again, is having the relationship with my true father. That's what mended me the most out of anything that's ever happened. And I've gone to therapy, I've gone to psychics, I've gone to everybody, and I've done everything you can possibly think of to heal from the traumas, and nothing healed me like the relationship with Jesus that I have. And that love and that security and that tenderness that's in that safe space. That's the most safe you'll ever feel, because nothing that anybody else on the planet says can matter to you when you know who you are from the Creator.
So if you can't do that, then you just have to sit and stew in the trauma of your childhood forever. Is that what you're telling me? I tried. For 15 years, I tried. For 20 years, I tried. So I don't get that safe space. Or maybe you created this false idea to rationalize and heal from your trauma. And now you're pushing that out as the only way, kind of like how we're talking about there's different ways to raise a child. There's different ways to heal from trauma. And turning to God is not only not the only answer, it is, it's a bad answer. It's a bad answer because it doesn't give you anything real. All it does is give you another lie.
100%. Anybody can throw a stick and a stone at me. None of it matters when you know who you belong to.
Do you though?
And so that's what I have conveyed now to my child, that no matter what is on the outside, no matter how much pain each of our families brings to us or our external circumstances bring to us, none of it's going to shake us because we know who we are.
It's kind of hard because I don't know what it's like to be a single Black mother, and the struggles that
Well, you could be. All you got to do is identify.
come from it. My dad, I have a good relationship with him. The blessing that I have of not being seen and not feeling loved is that I got to watch. So being alone, the only child, being alone, I got to see certain behaviors. And, I have relatives that do drugs. I'm 33. I've never smoked or drank a day in my life. I've never done, a lot of things. And it's because God put a hedge around me and a protection around me to be able to watch.
Ah, okay. So if you... Do you guys see why it's so frustrating? Because it's every single time.
I understood at a very young age what love was because I wasn't getting love. So I knew when I had my children, I knew exactly what to do. I understand that,
Yeah, me too. Why do you need God for that?
There's mental health, there's trauma.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't use God for that. I'm saying if you are saying that God is the way, the path to do that. And so if I can't believe in God as much as I've tried, you're saying there's no other answers. And if there's no other answers, then I should stop trying. That's what you believe.
There's a lot of things that are out there that people, suffer with. How do you not know how to love your child? It's especially as a Black man being a father. Real quick, one time me and my daughter, we were at a restaurant and I was getting her some food, and this Black guy sitting at the table, and he's like watching me and my daughter, and I'm like, protection mode, like, why are you staring at my daughter and she's wearing this dress? I'm just like freaking out, right? So I pay for the food, turn around, he's behind me, and he's like,
I have never known. Oh wait, I've never known anything but fear when I was a Christian, and I have not known anything that could be anything close to peace since I realized that there is no God, or I don't believe that there is a God.
I just want to tell you thank you. And I'm like, what's up? He was like, dude, I've been sitting here for 3 hours waiting for my baby mom to bring my daughter here. I haven't seen her in months. And he was like, and then a tear came down. He's like, I finally got to see what I want. So, to not have that, my mom, she did the best she could. I love my mother. I haven't spoken to my mom in 3 years. My wife hasn't spoken to her family in 6. And it's because of the protection and the love that we have in our home, that it's like, hey, you're not going to come to my house and talk about my daughter because she has mixed hair and you want me to put a perm in her hair because you don't like how curly it is. No, you can go. I don't care if I never see you again. It's about my family. So the cutting off, I'm 100% with you. But the not being seen and not having that love, the providing was there, but just not having that love, I feel like I took it in as kind of a blessing because now I get to love my kids. Like,
boom. And there we go. So another episode of Jubilee Middle Ground. We had conservative versus queer parents with some Gen Zers there for whatever reason. They actually did same just a kind. The Gen Zers actually did add a lot of decent context. I think it's a good conversation that covered a lot of different topics around parenting and growing up and families in general, framed in the way of queer parents versus conservative parents. But I think it was a bit wider than that, and I think we covered a lot of cool ideas. And you guys definitely had some great ideas. I really liked a lot of what a lot of these people said. And I don't know that I necessarily learned anything brand new, but I definitely was able to challenge some of the beliefs that I had and reaffirm some of the beliefs that I had. So I hope you guys were able to do that same thing. And those of you who are parents, I definitely shout out to you for being able to do a thing that doesn't have a guidebook or a playbook or anything like that. And those of us who are not parents, this is good for if you want to be a parent, or maybe you decide that you don't want to be a parent. There's a lot here, and I think it was really cool. All right, so time for superlative. So everybody, so here's how it's gonna work. So I've got 3 categories so far. We're gonna do best troll, best commenter, and highest super chat. So right now, Dan, the total was $15.20. So he wins that one. And I'm right here, bro. And so we'll do the other 2. And then if you guys have any other ideas, we can give away shirts left and right. Let's do Oprah. So let's start with nomination for the best troll. So put a name, somebody who is here. Who do you think should be nominated for the best troll? We can do up to 4 people. So I'm going to start off with my nomination is No Freedoms. We got Liquid saying Seabass. We got David Banner. And anyone else? We'll do that one. All right. Best troll is up. Winner, decided by you guys, gets a t-shirt. Oh! Divine and Rod taking the #1 sponsor spot and winning a free t-shirt in the process. Awesome. Let's say Divining Rod, not Divining Royd. Thank you so much, brother. I really do appreciate that. So you're not in Discord, so drop your email in the chat, and I'll get a hold of you for that. We got 14 people here. We got 13 people here, and we got 8 votes. So best troll, let's go. Yeah, right. That's what I need. I need a bidding war. That's how you make the good money. All right. Still at it for the steal. All right, we got 8 votes. Is anybody else gonna? We got a tie, so I need one more vote. One more. Let's go. I can't vote. I can only put the nominations up. Guys, really? Just somebody hit the thing. Yeah, right. Sorry, Dan. Oh, and we get a winner. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Well, Seabass, drop me your email. You have won a free The Indian Jesus t-shirt. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'll send him a shirt. All right. So we've got Dan getting a shirt for the double super chat. We've got Seabass getting a shirt for best troll, and Divining Rod for being the highest super chat for now. So the next one is best commenter. So I am going to nominate who's on point? David's on point a lot. Jessica Cog's on point a lot. Yeah, you guys. I need you guys for this. So we got Banner saying Jessica Cog. So since she was nominated, I'm gonna put David Banner. And does somebody else have a third option, or we just want to do one-on-one? Or Darshan? Is Darshan still here? Gotta be here. Let's give him a second. Because if he's here, I mean, he probably. Hey, he's here. All right. So we got a 3-way best commenter wins a free t-shirt. We've got Just a Cog and the free. We've got David Banner, and we've got we got Darshan. Oh, 4 votes, 6 votes. Let's see. Yeah, you just like any other thing, you can vote for yourself. You can vote for whoever you like. What? Bro, you won. What do you mean you were ripped off? You won. All right, 7 votes out of 11 people, or out of 10 people. If we can get one more. Actually, I don't know if it matters. No, they didn't. Oh, wait. Yes, they did. I'm sorry. He's like, bro, I didn't. Like, you got a super chat, and I didn't get mine. Thank you again, Divining Rod. All right. One more vote. We're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And David Banner wins. Awesome. So again, guys, drop your emails. I can't get to you if I don't know how to find you. If you're not in the the Discord, I don't know how to get to you guys. So either DM me or drop your email or something, because I'm not gonna chase after you. I'm giving you free stuff. All I need is bro, you are the worst type of person. You are the worst type of person. Absolutely the worst type of person. I'm giving it 30 seconds, guys. And then we're gonna head over to I mean, sure, it's your shirt. So if you would like to donate to Just a Cog, you absolutely can do that. Will do. All right. Shout out to Just a Cog. And shout out to David for being so generous. I love this. Maybe we'll do this. I got to think of some better, categories. But I like this. This is fun. I like giving these out. Yeah. Does anybody else have another category that we could do, or y'all ready to head over to Discord and get saucy? Yes, that was I definitely agree. And Just a Cog is also in the Discord, dropping knowledge, giving the female perspective, but not being, one of those. Yes, dude, you won. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm kind of mad. I wanted No Freedoms to win, but it's not up to me. So drop your email or follow me and hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. The Indian Jesus off, like official, and I'll get it to you. So, all right, I'm not gonna wait and chase after you guys. So I'm giving away free shit. If you won, Just a Cog, I know you're in. Facts. The shout out to all of you guys. And I really do hope that you all come and join the Discord, because I hate when we have a good conversations going and then you miss out. And it's free, guys. It's free. And we're growing. I've been telling you I have the number in my head. It's that same number. It hasn't changed. We're growing slowly. We're getting closer. And once it's cut off, guys. There's no more. This is my job. I'm trying to pay my bills with doing this. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my God. Well, I am left speechless. Seabass, so glad you're here. You are, in fact, a legend. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Divine and Rod. That gives you a I gotta get better at not being cheesy when I get these. But thank you so much. Please, guys, come join, especially Divine and Rod, Seabass, and No Freedoms. David Banner, I definitely want you in there too. But for just the fact that we can't really address a lot of things that y'all say on YouTube, come over, hang out with us. We can have these conversations. It's not that I don't want to talk about it. It's not that I don't want to engage. It's just that it's YouTube. I can't do anything about it. So last chance. Does anybody else have another category, or are we done with the superlatives? Thank you again, Divine and Rod. You as well, Nick. Thank you for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Give it to an atheist that's dying of AIDS. All right, when I meet one, I'll give it away. So, No Freedoms. Sounds like you just became an atheist dying of AIDS, right? Right? What can I do to? I'm not. What? Why would I give you money? I'm the one up here doing the thing. You give me money, motherfucker. Exactly. Come over to the dark side. All right. So if we don't have any more categories, I will think of some more that we will do next month. I love doing this stuff. I What a baller! Thank you so much. Look at this. All right, go lay down. All right, ready? You got to catch it. Can we see him? All right, ready? Catch it. Oh, come on, catch it. Ready? Catch. Morty, you suck. Come on, look, catch. Oh my God, you're so bad at this. There you go. Good job. Thank you, Divine and Rod, so much. Oh man, you guys are awesome. I disagree with the no freedoms here. You guys are awesome. Yeah, right. I mean, hey, I'll sit here. I'm with it. I'm with it. So does anybody else have any other superlative categories that we could give away more free stuff? I don't think so, but I don't want you to feel like you have to keep doing that. I really do appreciate it so much. So with that, no more super chats, no more donations. Divine and Rod is the sponsor of the stream and the winner of the biggest super chat for the shirt. Again, get in contact with me because I need to know your size, what color you want, all that kind of stuff. And I definitely want to make sure you get what you deserve. You know, I really do appreciate you guys being here. And even though you are, now able to give me money directly, and come on, there we go. Oh my goodness. You get to pick a second shirt. So you just go to buy6shirt.com and the Indian Jesus shirt you're gonna get for free, and then any other design that you want, Divine and Rod, that one is also. Oh wait, I have your email already. So yeah, I'll get your info there. But yeah, go to buy6shirt.com, pick out any other shirt, and then the size color of this shirt, just so everybody gets a good look. Usually I'm wearing the black one, but that's in the wash. This one actually fits better too. And hey, don't be pocket watching, bro. Don't be pocket watching. Chill. I also just did 600 videos for 2 years for free and spent $3,000 on my whole setup. So let's not be pocket watching here. Let's just all have a good time. You know what I mean? Yeah, right. All right, guys. Whose site is what? What are you talking about? Whose site is that? Oh, that's IndieFilm site. My Six Shirt, my6shirt.com. That is IndieFilm, who's in the chat all the time. That is his site. He makes all of the merch that you find over there, and he just came up with a new shirt that if you're a fan of Elon Musk, you're gonna like that shirt. Guys, thank you. No more super chats, Divine and Rod. No more. No. I said no more. Oh my goodness. Oh man, you are making my night, brother. You are making my night. Morty. All right, you got to catch it this time. He's just dropping bank. Come on, catch it. Ready? Nope. Come on. Look. Ready? Catch it. It's a dark color. Okay, we're going to throw a bunch. Ready? Catch it. Yeah! It's not my site. You would have to ask IndieFilm. I mean, you can definitely send your own, brother. But no more. We're going over Discord. No more super chats. No more. Thank you so much, Dan and Divine and Rod. You guys are awesome. Everybody else spending time with me, you guys know, is more important than the money. I need money to eat and shit, but I would much rather, if I didn't have to do any of that, if I could exist without money, I would still do this because I love hanging out with you guys so much. I love showing this to you guys. I love being able to discuss this. You guys teach me stuff. I teach you stuff. It is all just a lot of fun. And I didn't know that there was a place, and I didn't know. I love you too, brother. I didn't know that there were people like you guys out there who would be willing to listen to me, who would be willing to even hear me out. And even if you do disagree, I spent my entire life just trying to be understood. And it didn't work. Even my own dad, it took us a long time. I was into my 20s before we got to we opened the door to get to where we are now. And you guys have shown me that I'm not alone. And it means a lot. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys to no end. And I really hope to see you over at Discord. But even if you don't want to join, I'm starting to drop more standalone videos. So check those out. I'm trying to recreate the feel of doing a stream, just within 8 to 15 minutes of videos where I'll just react to something shorter. I dropped one I was going to drop one a couple hours before the stream, but I messed it up and I was kind of not good. So I re-recorded it because I want the best for you guys. So go check that out. It just dropped like 2 minutes before I jumped on. But thank you again, guys. Yep. Shout out to Seabass. Shout out to Just a Cog. Shout out to Nick, to No Freedoms, to Seabass, to David Banner, to Chester. All of you guys are amazing. All of you guys are amazing. I hope to see you over there, guys. Thank you so much. And remember, the big thing about this whole thing was less about gender bending stuff, less about trans bathrooms and all that, and it was really about parenting and family. And at the end of the day, what could possibly matter more than that? So with that, I am going to call it quits. Thank you so much for partying with me, guys. I have been your host. Take two. I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, I am out of here. Peace.